After a month of giving my wife the cold shoulder, I secretly went to a bar with my buddies to blow off some steam. That woman's phone call came, asking where I was. I said I was at home, about to go to sleep. The woman's voice was cold. Video call me. I can't. I'm not wearing anything. The next second, she sent a picture. The one not wearing anything is the model next to you, right? If you dare touch her waist one more time, I will chop off your hand. I turned my head in despair and saw that woman taking off her watch. I knew I was done for. The last time she took off her watch, I couldn't get out of bed for a whole week. She was clearly not like this before. She was the older sister next door, and also the person I secretly loved throughout my youth. Once, she got drunk and lost control, and out of a sense of responsibility, she married me. I was ecstatic. I gave up my job and my life. All my friends said, I could never leave her in this lifetime. I thought so too. Until I discovered her second phone. A man had sent a selfie. Miss Liu, thank you for the birthday gift. I stared at it for a long time. An indescribable bitterness filled my heart. From behind me came the sound of the bathroom door sliding open. Liu Ruyan walked out, enveloped in steam. How much longer are you going to stare? She snatched the phone from my hand. Her expression showed no sign of embarrassment from being caught by her husband. I knew full well her confidence stemmed from her financial power, because right now, I was being kept by her at home. I didn't argue with her about that picture. I didn't have the right to. Seeing she was about to go out, I quickly spoke up. Liu Ruyan, I need to talk to you about something. The woman leisurely buttoned her shirt, looking at me with a cool tone. You have 5 minutes. The driver is waiting downstairs. I could guess where she was going. My gaze darkened. I want to go out and get a job. Liu Ruyan finished buckling her watch strap, then tilted her head to look at me. After a long moment, she pulled a checkbook from her pocket. She wrote down a series of numbers, tore it out, and handed it to me. Isn't it good enough to be a full-time husband at home? Work doesn't suit you. With that, she turned to leave. I went after her, lowering myself. I'm not afraid of hard work. I want to go out and get a job. I can play the piano. The woman had no patience to listen further. In her heart, I was just a weak gigolo who depended on others, used to being kept by someone, completely unsuited for the outside world, even less able to endure hardship. Liu Ruyan raised her hand to check her watch. Time's up. She left without a trace of reluctance. I couldn't stop her. Only when she grabbed the doorknob did I hastily ask, This Saturday is my father's birthday. Do you have time? Liu Ruyan's steps paused. We'll see. The door closed softly. A moment later, the sound of a car starting came from downstairs, gradually fading into the distance. A few minutes later, the maid came upstairs. They knew the master and mistress were not on good terms, so they became gossips. The mistress has to go to City H for a few days. She said it's for something important. Just now, the company sent over some of the mistress's clothes. Sir, should they be sent for dry cleaning, or will you be hand-washing and ironing them? I sat on the sofa for a long time before I came to my senses. Hand-wash them, because Liu Ruyan dislikes the smell of dry cleaning solvent. So all of Liu Ruyan's clothes were almost always hand-washed by me. Besides this, Liu Ruyan was also very demanding in other aspects. She doesn't like eating out. She doesn't like the bedroom to be even slightly messy. So I learned to cook, clean, and arrange flowers. I gradually became a perfect full-time husband. My life also became almost solely about Liu Ruyan, but she still didn't love me. I stared at that check and closed my eyes. 6 years. I had loved her for a full 6 years. I didn't get to wait for Liu Ruyan's return. That evening, something major happened to the Lin family. News broke that the eldest daughter of the Lin family, Lin Shui, due to an economic case involving the Lin group, could be sentenced to 10 years in prison. That night, Father Lin suffered an acute cerebral hemorrhage and was hospitalized. His condition was critical, requiring immediate surgery. I stood in the hospital corridor, repeatedly calling Liu Ruyan. But after several calls, no one answered. Just as I was about to give up, the call was answered. Her voice was a little impatient. Need money? I've told you many times, if you need money urgently, find Secretary Qin. I stared blankly at the news on the electronic screen. The CEO of Lios Pharmaceutical Group, for the smile of a beauty, booked all of Disneyland for a fireworks show. The entire sky was ablaze. Beneath the fireworks, a young man sat in a wheelchair, smiling as brightly as the sun, and my wife, Liu Ruyan, stood behind the wheelchair. After a long moment, my voice was a little broken. Liu Ruyan, where are you? The other end of the line was silent for a moment, seemingly very unhappy about being checked up on. But she still gave a perfunctory answer, still busy. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Contact Secretary Qin. She didn't notice the heartbroken tone in my voice. But when she lowered her head to look at the person beside her, her gaze was so gentle, so very gentle. It turns out Liu Ruyan could also look so gentle. From behind came the voice of my stepmother, Shuru. Have you reached Ruyan? You must get Ruyan's help with this. Shuro's words trailed off because she too had seen the scene on the electronic screen. It took a long while for Shuru to find her voice again. She went to City H again. I don't believe that back when Liu Ruyan was in a coma, that boy named Fang Yuan could wake her just by playing a piano piece. Even if that's true, who repays a favor like this? She doesn't even remember your birthday. The more Auntie Shu spoke, the angrier she got. Thinking of the Lin family situation, she couldn't hold back her tears. You have to keep a clear head. Don't pick a fight with Liu Ruyan at a time like this. I won't. It's not because I, young Master Lin, know my place, but because I don't have the right. A loveless couple, a marriage in name only. Looking at that sky full of fireworks, I said softly. So many fireworks. It must have cost a lot of money. Shu Ru didn't understand my meaning. I frowned and started calling Secretary Qin. Secretary Qin had been with Liu Ruyan for a long time and knew she didn't care about this husband of hers. So after hearing my purpose, his tone was both cold and arrogant. Young Master Lin, you must first file an application for CEO Liu to sign. Only then can you receive the check. Just like the jewelry on your body, it also needs to be registered before use. Young Master Lin, do you understand my meaning? I hung up. I looked down at the wedding ring I was wearing. This was the only thing on me that didn't require Liu Ruyan's permission, that didn't need to be registered and reported to her secretary. I blinked dazedly and said, "Help me find someone to sell the wedding ring." Shu Ru was stunned. Are you crazy? I slowly turned around and said firmly, Auntie Shu, I'm very sober. I've never been this sober. I want to divorce Liu Ruyan. 3 days later, Liu Ruyan returned to the villa. As soon as she entered the hall, the housemaid ran out to greet her. Your father-in-law had an incident a few days ago. The young master is in a bad mood. He's upstairs. Liu Ruyan already knew about the Lin family's matter. She felt a little annoyed. Carrying her luggage upstairs, she pushed open the bedroom door and saw me sitting in front of the wardrobe packing my things. She walked straight into the dressing room, grabbed a bathrobe, and went into the bathroom. While showering, she thought, with my weak personality, by the time she finished her shower and came out, I would probably have long gotten over my anger, helped her unpack her luggage, and continued to be an obedient canary. So when she stepped out of the bathroom and found her suitcase still in the same spot, she felt the need to talk to me. Liu Ruyan sat down on the sofa and casually picked up a magazine to read. After a moment, she looked up at me and spoke. How is your father's condition? I already reprimanded Secretary Qin for what happened that night. I put down the things in my hand and raised my head to look her straight in the eye. After a long moment, I said calmly, Liu Ruyan, let's get a divorce. Liu Ruyan was clearly stunned. She knew about that night and that I was definitely upset. After she found out about the Lin family's incident, she immediately sent Secretary Qin to the hospital. It's just that I didn't accept it. This was the first time I had ever defied her. After a moment, she spoke softly. A few days ago, you said you wanted to get a job. How come, after just a few days, you're asking for a divorce? After being young Master Lin for so long, you want to go out and experience life. Go take a look outside. So many people out there earn a few thousand, all have to work overtime and watch other people's expressions. You live in a 2,000 square meter villa. As young Master Lin, what is there to be dissatisfied about? Her voice was heartless and cruel. My lips trembled. I let out a faint laugh. Is there any young Master Lin like me? I suddenly stood up and pulled Liu Ruyan to the dressing room. With a whoosh, I pulled open the closet door. Inside was a whole row of cabinets for suits and watches, but they were all locked with passcodes. I pointed at them, laughing self-deprecatingly. Is there any young master of a house who, even to use a single watch, needs to report and register it with his wife's secretary? Is there any young master of a house who, for every single coin he spends, must write an application and ask his wife's secretary for permission? Is there any young master of a house who doesn't even have taxi fare when he goes out? Liu Ruyan, you tell me. Is this what being young Master Lin is like? My family has fallen, so you'll provide me with 100,000 a month. But every time I receive a check, I feel like a cheap man. Just a charity case after you've gotten your release. Liu Ruyan coldly interrupted me. Is that what you think? Is there any cheap man who doesn't know how to please? A woman like you do? Want a divorce? What kind of life do you think you can live after leaving me? Her grip was painfully tight. I raised my hand to push her away. The next second, Liu Ruyan grabbed my hand. Her eyes were like ice, staring at my empty ring finger. Where's your wedding ring? I sold it. My voice was mournful. So Liu Ruyan, let's get a divorce. After saying that, I gently pulled my hand away, pulled out a suitcase, and started packing my things. Liu Ruyan's expression was ugly, staring at my frail back. She never thought there would be a day I would rebel like this, let alone so decisively say I wanted a divorce. An unknown fire ignited within her. You're picking a fight with me, isn't it because of Fang Yuan, Lin Feng? Wouldn't it be better to be a little more direct? Didn't you scheme to get this title of young Master Lin? Why don't you want it anymore? Until now, she still thought what happened that year was my doing. As she spoke, she ignored my protests and hugged me from behind, pushing me onto the bed in the process. In short, Liu Ruyan suddenly felt the urge. She had always been aggressive in bed, and I usually found it hard to resist, always yielding to her. But now we're about to get divorced. How could we do this? Liu Ruyan, no, we are still legally married. Why not? Liu Ruyan was almost frantic at this point, not thinking about any consequences. Liu Ruyan, you forgot you haven't taken your pill these past few days. You could get pregnant? Hearing this, Liu Ruyan stopped, but then she immediately let out a scornful laugh. Seems you've been thinking a lot these past few days. Liu Ruyan propped herself up beside me with one hand, and with the other, she pulled open the nightstand drawer, taking out a small, unopened box. 3 English letters were printed on it. Just as she was about to open it, the phone rang. Liu Ruyan answered unhappily. On the other end was her mother, Madame Liu. Madame Liu's voice was faint. Ruyan, your grandmother is not well. Come home and see her, and bring Xiaofeng with you. Your grandmother says she wants to eat the lotus root cakes he makes. Liu Ruyan held me down with one hand, her dark eyes looking down at me from above. She spoke to the person on the phone. We'll bring him over in a bit. Hanging up, she got up and got dressed. Grandma is sick. She wants to see you. You think about it? We'll talk more when we get back. A moment later, the black Bentley slowly drove out of the villa's gate. Liu Ruyan held the steering wheel with one hand, concentrating on the traffic. Occasionally, she would glance at me in the rearview mirror. Married for 3 years, I rarely rode in her car. Now that I wanted a divorce, I naturally didn't want to talk. Both of us were silent. Half an hour later, the car drove into a manor villa on the mountainside. The car stopped and the engine was turned off. Liu Ruyan leaned over to look at me. Grandma isn't in good health. She can't handle any agitation. You know what to say. I opened the car door, my voice cold. Don't worry. Liu Ruyan stared at my back. A moment later, she got out of the car, took a few quick steps, and grabbed my hand. She could feel my resistance. Immediately, she squeezed my palm tightly. Don't forget what you just said. My fingers twitched slightly, but in the end, I didn't pull away. In the main hall, Madame Liu saw us walk in holding hands and couldn't help but frown slightly, but she immediately spoke coolly. Dr. Zhang just left. You two go in and see her. After speaking, she looked at me. I called out, Mother. After a long pause, Madame Liu reluctantly acknowledged me. Entering the bedroom, the old madam was indeed not well. She was lying on her side on the bed, groaning softly. Seeing that Liu Ruyan had brought me, her old eyes immediately lit up. Waiting and waiting, we finally waited for our Xiaofeng to arrive. Liu Ruyan pushed me forward. She leaned close to the old madam's ear and said softly, I heard you weren't feeling well, so I brought him here for you. The old madam grinned from ear to ear, but she pretended not to hear clearly. Cupping her ear, she asked loudly, What? Are you and Xiaofeng making a baby? Making a baby is more important. This old lady, I'm fine. Knowing full well the old madam was doing it on purpose, Liu Ruyan still glanced at me. Without playing the loving couple with her, I chatted with the old madam for a bit, then stood up. I'll go make the lotus root cakes. After I left, the old madam's smile vanished. She leaned back. Liu Ruyan, what's with that Fang Yuan boy? Taking care of him a little is one thing, but what's with the fireworks? Be careful your husband doesn't get jealous and pick a fight with you. You should also pay some attention to Xiaofeng's family matters. Don't act like it has nothing to do with you. If you keep being so cold, he's going to run away. Liu Ruyan gave a few perfunctory replies, not explaining the fireworks incident. Perhaps it was an act born from emotion. After chatting for a long while, I finished making the snacks and brought them over. Old Madame Liu really liked them. She tasted a piece of the snack and got to the point. Liu Ruyan, you'll be 30 in 2 years. Your peers all have 2 children already. When are you going to let me hold a great-grandchild? I didn't say anything. Liu Ruyan glanced at me and picked up a piece of lotus root cake. We're still young? Let's wait another 2 years. The old madam knew everything perfectly well. She just didn't say it outright. We had dinner at the Liu family home. It was very late when we left. Liu Ruyan fastened her seatbelt and leaned over to glance at me. I turned my face to the side, looking out the car window. Liu Ruyan watched for a long time, then gently pressed the accelerator. The black Bentley drove smoothly. The lights on both sides receded continuously. It was clear she wanted to talk to me about something, so she didn't drive fast. About 5 minutes later, Liu Ruyan spoke. Tomorrow, I'll arrange for someone to take your father to the Liu's hospital. The best team of specialists will treat him. Also, from now on, if you need money, just tell me. Her voice was quite gentle, which counted as a concession. She held the steering wheel and continued. Secretary Qin won't come to the house anymore either. As for those pieces of jewelry of yours, keep them yourself. I'll instruct him. I listened in silence. Liu Ruyan and I have been married for 3 years. We both understand her personality. Honestly, these concessions from her were already a great favor. But she didn't mention Fang Yuan at all. In other words, if I accepted her arrangements, then in the future Fang Yuan would still appear in our lives. Nothing would change. Liu Ruyan, I'm tired. I don't want to be imprisoned in a loveless marriage. I refused coldly. There's no need, my father's current doctor is very good. Liu Ruyan understood my meaning. I wasn't accepting her attempt at reconciliation and was insisting on a divorce. She couldn't help but get angry. Lin Feng, don't forget, we signed an agreement when we got married. If we divorce, you won't get a single cent. I know. I answered very quickly. Liu Ruyan's patience had run out. She said nothing more to me. 20 minutes later, as the car pulled into the villa where we lived, it stopped and I unbuckled my seatbelt. Just as I was about to get out, with a click, the car doors were locked by Liu Ruyan. The atmosphere in the car was tense. Liu Ruyan had just returned from a business trip and then made a trip to the Liu family home, so she was actually a bit tired. She rested one hand on the steering wheel and rubbed her temples with the other. She said helplessly, "How long are you going to keep this up?" Even now, she still just thought I was throwing a tantrum. My heart turned cold. After a moment, I said softly, "Liu Ruyan, I'm serious. I don't want to live with you anymore." Liu Ruyan's dark eyes stared at me. She unbuckled her seatbelt with one hand and got out of the car. I immediately got out and walked towards the villa's entrance. Liu Ruyan stayed in the car for a moment, and after a long pause, she got out and followed me upstairs. That night, I slept in the living room. Liu Ruyan was also a little annoyed. Too lazy to talk to me. The morning sun shone into the bedroom. Liu Ruyan found it dazzling. She raised her hand to shield her eyes a little, and with that, she woke up. A faint sound came from downstairs. She got out of bed and went into the walk-in closet to change. The next second, her gaze stopped. My suitcase was gone. Liu Ruyan pulled open the wardrobe. Sure enough, I had taken a few sets of my usual clothes. She looked silently for a few seconds, then closed my side of the wardrobe. She chose a business suit as usual. After changing and a simple wash-up, she went downstairs while putting on her watch. Seeing the maid, she casually asked, "Where is Mr. Lin?" The maid said carefully, "The young master left early this morning with his suitcase. He didn't even call for the driver. He's got some nerve." Liu Ruyan ignored her and sat down at the dining table to eat. It was the black coffee and whole grain toast she was used to, but her eyes were drawn to the news in the paper. The rumors about her and Fang Yuan were everywhere, each headline more sensational than the last, grabbing everyone's attention. Liu Ruyan stared for a long time, then quietly asked the maid beside her, "Did the young master read the paper before he left?" The maid answered honestly, "The young master left without eating breakfast." Liu Ruyan looked up at her, then picked up the phone beside her, and called Secretary Qin. "Handle the news in the papers. Also, find out where Lin Feng sold his wedding ring. I want it back before 4 p.m. Secretary Qin was stunned on the other end of the line. After a moment, he said quietly, "No way. Mr. Lin loves you so much. How could he sell the wedding ring?" Liu Ruyan's response was to hang up. She threw the phone onto the dining table. Looking at the news, she had completely lost her appetite. On the other side, I returned to the Lin family home. Auntie Shu had just finished making soup, ready to take it to the hospital. Seeing me, Auntie Shu lost her composure. She looked at the suitcase in my hand. Her tone wasn't very pleasant. "What married couple doesn't fight? It's normal for women to have an affair sometimes. That Fang Yuan guy is so ugly, and he's crippled too. I've already asked around. He's even been married before. Someone like that won't affect your position at all." "What position do I have with Liu Ruyan?" I laughed self-deprecatingly. I poured the pigeon soup into a thermos. "He'll go to the hospital to see Dad later." Auntie Shu glared at me. Wiping her hands with a rag, she said angrily, "If your father knew you wanted a divorce, he'd be angry enough to die." "Lin Feng, let's take a step back and think about this. Let's say you really can't live with her anymore. Can you survive after the divorce? The Lin family is in this state now. What do you have to support it?" I slowly twisted the lid of the thermos shut. After tightening it, I lowered my head and said, "There will be a way. The money from selling the wedding ring is enough to cover half a year of Dad's hospital bills, and the lawyer's fees for my sister. I'm planning to sell this house. Besides that, I'll also go out and work to support the family." As I spoke, my eyes became moist. This house was left to me by my mother. No matter how difficult things got before, I never touched it. Auntie Shu was stunned. She didn't try to persuade me anymore, but she still didn't approve in her heart. After getting them settled, I went to the hospital. After treatment, Dad's condition had basically stabilized. It's just that his mood was a bit down. Ultimately, he was still worried about Lin Shui's future. I didn't mention the divorce for the time being. In the afternoon, the attending physician came for rounds. It was Dr. Xia Jingyi, young yet already a neurosurgery specialist. She was also beautiful and had an elegant air, and a nice figure too. After the examination, she glanced at me and said we should talk outside. I was stunned, then put down the things in my hand. I said gently to Father Lin, "Dad, I'm stepping out for a moment." A moment later, we went to a quiet corridor. Noticing my tension, Xia Jingyi gave a reassuring smile. Then, she looked down at the medical chart. "Last night, I and the other surgeons, along with several department heads, had a discussion. We unanimously recommend that Mr. Lin, from now on, undergoes customized rehabilitation therapy. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to recover to his previous state. It's just that the cost is a bit expensive, about 150,000 yuan per month." 150,000 yuan was an astronomical figure for me right now, but I didn't hesitate. I spoke up, "Well, accept the treatment." Xia Jingyi closed the medical chart. She looked at me silently. "Actually, we knew each other before, but I had forgotten. When I was very young, she lived next door to me. She remembered that on summer afternoons, the rooftop outside my bedroom would light up with little stars. I would always sit there waiting and missing my mom. I asked her, 'Sister Jingyi, is Mom coming back?' Xia Jingyi didn't know. She had no way to answer, just like now, as she looked at me. She remembered seeing the news of my marriage when she returned to the country 3 years ago. She thought I had married for love, but I wasn't living well at all." Liu Ruyan was cold and harsh towards me. Xia Jingyi was about to speak, when a cold voice sounded from the opposite direction. Lin Feng. It was Liu Ruyan. It seemed she came from the company. She walked towards us. Her high heels clicked on the corridor floor. The sound was crisp. A moment later, Liu Ruyan stood before us. She extended her hand. Her lazy voice carried a hint of contempt. Miss Xia, long time no see. Xia Jingyi looked at the hand in front of her. She gave a faint smile and extended her own hand to shake it. Xiao Liu, what an honor. Liu Ruyan released her hand as soon as they touched. She tilted her head to look at me. Go see your father. The two women were subtly clashing. I didn't realize it. I couldn't show my attitude towards Liu Ruyan in front of Dr. Xia, so I nodded. Dr. Xia, I'll go over first. Xia Jingyi smiled faintly. Liu Ruyan and I walked towards the hospital room together. Neither of us spoke. Ever since I decided on a divorce, I no longer tried to carefully please her as before. As we neared the door of the hospital room, Liu Ruyan suddenly grabbed my wrist, pinning me between her and the wall. Her eyes were complex. Just now, the way Xia Jingyi looked at me was the way a woman looks at a man. Liu Ruyan stared at me. Her voice was a little hoarse. What did you say to her? I wanted to struggle free, but Liu Ruyan applied a bit of force, and I was pressed back again. Our bodies were pressed tightly together, touching her softness. I found it unbearable. Liu Ruyan, this is a hospital. Of course I know. Liu Ruyan didn't flinch. She pressed closer to me. Her beautiful face also moved close to my ear. Her voice carried a hint of danger. Do you know who she is? I could guess her hidden meaning. She is the chairman of the Liu Corporation. She has status and position. She wouldn't allow her husband to be too close to another woman. I laughed bitterly. I said, Liu Ruyan, I don't have dirty thoughts like you, and I'm not in the mood for it. Rest assured, before we divorce, I won't get involved with anyone else. After speaking, I pushed her away and turned to enter the hospital room. Liu Ruyan followed, pushing the door open and entering. She frowned as soon as she entered. It's not a private room. Auntie Shu cleared a chair for her and said gently, have a seat. I'll have Lin Feng peel some fruit for you. Hey, Lin Feng, don't just stand there. Go home with Ruyan later. I'm here to take care of your father. Liu Ruyan sat down. She chatted with Lin Batian. She was usually cold to me, but in front of Lin Batian, she put on a perfect performance. She had been in the business world for many years. As long as she wanted to please someone, it was very easy to make them like her. Lin Batian had always liked her. It was just that when Liu Ruyan suggested changing hospitals, Lin Batian still refused. He laughed. No need to go to the trouble. It's very good here. That Dr. Xia is also very responsible. Liu Ruyan knew her limits. She didn't insist. As long as you're comfortable here, Dad. At this moment, I peeled an apple and handed it to her. Liu Ruyan took it but set it aside. Instead, she grabbed my arm. She stood up and said to Lin Batian and his wife, then I'll take Lin Feng home first, Dad. Take care of yourself. Lin Batian nodded, watching us leave. Auntie Shu was tidying up. Suddenly, Lin Batian spoke. Have they been fighting recently? Auntie Xu's hand trembled. She quickly tried to cover it up. Of course not. Lin Feng and Ruyan are still doing well. Lin Batian sighed softly. You're still trying to fool me. The way Lin Feng looks at that girl has changed. Before, when he looked at Liu Ruyan, there was a light in his eyes. Now, that light is gone. Auntie Shu was stunned for a long time. She said softly, then you should talk to him. Lin Bachan slowly leaned back against the headboard. After a moment, he said in a low voice, I won't. If he doesn't mention it, he'll pretend I don't know. Lin Zhui has already lost her freedom. I don't want Lin Feng to lose his freedom too. Auntie Shu wanted to say something but held back. Liu Ruyan led me downstairs. The evening sunset dyed the black Bentley a brilliant red, both luxurious and dazzling. I was pushed into the car. I was about to get out when she held me tightly. Liu Ruyan's expression was cold. From outside the car, you absolutely couldn't tell how much strength she was using. I couldn't move at all. This woman's strength was surprisingly great. Only when I gave up struggling did Liu Ruyan let go. For a long time, she said nothing, looking at her side profile. The dim light cast a shadow on her face, making her features seem even more exquisite and gentle. Coupled with the support of her status, it was easy to make a man's heart flutter. I vaguely remembered, it was initially, this face that had infatuated me, and that I had loved for so many years. Liu Ruyan turned to look at me. She rarely bothered herself with my affairs. She didn't care about me at all, but she didn't want to change husbands. Women of status and position don't easily change husbands. After a moment, she took a velvet box from her pocket. Opening it revealed a diamond ring. It was the wedding ring I had sold that night. Liu Ruyan kept staring at my face, not missing any of my slightest expressions, as if she wanted to see through my very skin. After a long time, she spoke faintly. Hold out your hand, put on the ring, then come home with me. You'll pretend what happened before never happened. You're still Mr. Lin. It was rare for her to graciously bestow mercy upon me, but I refused. Liu Ruyan had a limit to her patience. What exactly do you want? I said in a low voice. A divorce. Let's get a divorce. Liu Ruyan was busy with work. I had fought with her and refused to go home. In the morning, she couldn't even find an undershirt. She was very unhappy. Just as she was about to get angry, she saw the white BMW in the parking lot ahead. Xia Jingyi was talking to a nurse. Liu Ruyan became even more displeased. She pressed her tongue against the roof of her mouth. Just then, her phone rang. It was a call from Secretary Qin. Liu Ruyan answered. Her tone was not good. What is it? Secretary Qin dutifully reported to her. Just now, Mr. Fang was careless getting out of bed and fell. He might have injured a nerve in his leg. He's in a very bad mood right now, CO Liu. Do you want to go to H City to see him? If you go, he'll definitely be very happy. Liu Ruyan held the phone. She didn't speak right away, clearly a bit wary of me being beside her. The volume on her phone wasn't low. I heard it. I let out a faint laugh, opened the car door and got out, walking away without looking back. A night breeze blew past, chilling me to the bone. I thought, luckily, just now when Liu Ruyan took out the wedding ring, I wasn't moved. I didn't change my mind. I no longer wanted to return to that marital life, that suffocating life. My figure gradually receded into the distance. Liu Ruyan stared, while talking to Secretary Qin on the other end. Find him the best doctor. Secretary Qin was quite surprised. You're not going to H City to see him? Liu Ruyan had already hung up. After hanging up on Secretary Qin, she called me. She found that the call wouldn't go through. WeChat messages wouldn't send either. I had blocked her number and WeChat. Liu Ruyan angrily threw her phone aside. After a long time, she picked up the diamond ring and looked at it in silence. Now she believed I was determined to leave her. 3 days later, in the chairman's office on the top floor of the Liu Corporation building, Liu Ruyan stood before the floor-to-ceiling window, talking on the phone with old Mrs. Liu. The old lady was missing me again, telling her to bring me to visit. Liu Ruyan perfunctorily soothed her. Just then, there was a knock at the door. CO Liu, you have an express delivery. Liu Ruyan raised an eyebrow. She probably already guessed what it was. A moment later, Secretary Qin entered. He placed an express package on the desk. It's from the young master. Liu Ruyan stood by the window and looked for a few seconds, then slowly walked over. She picked up the document file on the desk and opened it. Just as she thought, it was a divorce agreement. She glanced through it, very dignified. He wasn't asking for anything, leaving with nothing. Her expression grew darker and darker. After a moment, she asked him in a low voice what he'd been busy with recently. Secretary Qin quickly said, It seems he's selling the house. Quite a few people have come to see it, but there have been no real buyers yet. Also, the young master has been looking for a job. In college, he won a national award. A pretty good company seems interested in signing him. The salary and benefits are very good. Liu Ruyan sat until late afternoon. She held up the divorce agreement, staring at it silently. Her voice was ice cold. Find someone to make contact about that house, drive the price down as low as possible, and then buy it. She sneered again. As for the job, he can't handle hardship. Secretary Qin was stunned. He thought CEO Liu would drive the Lin family into a corner, but it turned out that wasn't the case. Doesn't she hate Lin Feng the most? He only hesitated for a few seconds. Liu Ruyan's tone was scolding. Aren't you leaving? Secretary Qin retreated. Outside the office, he clenched his fists. After a moment's hesitation, he took out his phone and made a call. 2 days later, I sold the house. The house was worth 50 million. The other party pushed the price down to 28 million. Auntie Shu cursed the other party for being greedy, but I gritted my teeth and sold it, because my sister in there couldn't wait. Besides the lawyer's fees, the Lin family had a huge financial hole waiting to be filled. Under all kinds of pressure, I basically had no choice. After selling the house, I found a way to see Lin Shui one time. Lin Shui was beautiful and noble. Wherever she went before, a crowd of rich young masters would follow her. Now she looked somewhat haggard. She and I spoke through a glass panel. Find a lawyer named Meng Yanhui, Lin Feng. He can help me, and he can help you too. I wanted to ask for clarification, but time was up. Lin Shui was led away. She looked at this younger brother of hers. Her eyes revealed so much reluctance to part. In her eyes, I had been the darling of the Lion family since I was a child. Now I had to run around everywhere for the family. Lin Shui had read the papers. She knew my situation very well. As she was leaving, I stood up and gripped the bars. My veins bulged from the force. Sister Lin Shui placed her index finger to her lips and silently mouthed 2 words, "Take care." I watched her being led away. After a long time, I slowly sat down. Meng Yanhui. That's right, I must find Meng Yanhui. I had just left the detention center when I received a call from that training center. The other party was very respectful and politely called me Mr. Lin, saying that they weren't hiring at the moment. After hearing that, I silently hung up. I guess this was Liu Ruyan's doing. She was forcing me to go back. I wouldn't be sentimental enough to think that Liu Ruyan had developed feelings for me over time. She just needed a husband to serve her, and a facade to stabilize the Liu Corporation stock market. In her heart, I, Lin Feng, wasn't worth a penny. The phone rang. I picked it up to look. It was an unknown number. I answered. It was Liu Ruyan again. Her voice was as cold and noble as ever. Lin Feng, let's talk. Half an hour later, I walked into the Liu Corporation building. Secretary Qin personally came downstairs to greet me. He took me straight to the chairman's office on the top floor. Opening the door, Liu Ruyan was looking at documents. The sunlight from the floor-to-ceiling window shone in, illuminating her, highlighting her goddess-like beauty. Even Secretary Qin had to take a second look. "Co Liu, Mr. Lin is here." Liu Ruyan looked up. Her gaze swept over me. We hadn't seen each other for a week. I was still tall and handsome, but I had become 30% more haggard. Liu Ruyan didn't soften at all. She had always been hard as stone towards me. She looked at Secretary Qin, her chin lifted slightly. "You can go out first. Remember to close the door." After Secretary Qin left, Liu Ruyan looked at me again. Her tone carried a hint of ridicule. "It's been a week. I finally get to see Mr. Lin. Why don't you come over and sit? Didn't you used to love making snacks and finding every excuse to bring them here? Have you forgotten where the sofa is?" "Liu Ruyan, I didn't come here to reminisce with you." Liu Ruyan stared at me. After a moment, she gave a cold smile. "So you've come to beg." She picked up the coffee cup from her desk and took a small sip. During this process, her eyes were fixed on me. When Liu Ruyan looked at a man like that, it was very seductive. She spoke faintly. "Before you came, I did some calculations for you. According to the Lin family's current situation, you need to earn at least 30 to 40,000 yuan a month just to cover your father's medical expenses. Of course, that's after factoring in the money you got from selling the ring." My face was expressionless. "As long as Miss Liu shows some mercy, you'll find a way." "Miss Liu?" Liu Ruyan sneered. "Just last week you were holding me in bed, comfortably like a little wolf cub calling Liu Ruyan. How did it become Miss Liu after just a few days?" I knew she wouldn't let me go. I spoke very quietly. "Liu Ruyan, you don't have any feelings for me. If we divorce, you'll have nothing. You won't suffer any losses either, right? You can totally find another young, handsome man to marry." Liu Ruyan held her glass. She stared at me. She gave a cold smile. "And then? So you can carry the title of my ex-husband and go around making me a cuckold?" Her words were very harsh. I was also angered by her. "If you refuse to divorce and refuse to let me go, then I only have one last resort." Liu Ruyan's expression turned extremely ugly. Before I could even react, she was already beside me. Leaning close to my ear, she asked threateningly, "Are you talking about becoming a gigolo?" I didn't deny it. Instead of getting angry, Liu Ruyan smiled. She pressed close to me like a lover's whisper. "Who could you possibly find? In this city B, you carry the title of my husband. Let's see who dares to take you in." Having made her point, Liu Ruyan stopped. She let go of me. She said softly, "Come back and be my husband. We can be just like we were before." I furrowed my brows tightly. Suddenly, I saw on the opposite bookshelf a brand new gleaming saxophone. I remembered the tabloids had reported that the CEO of the Liu family, for the smile of a beautiful confidant, spent 20 million to buy an outrageously expensive saxophone. So it was this one. I burst out laughing. Like before? Like being her toy before? Like before, serving her every day, trying to please her but receiving not a shred of concern or respect? Even her secretary could look down on me. Like before, sharing her with another man? A past like that? A woman like that? I want none of it. My smile gradually faded. I said, word by word, "This title of your husband, you can find someone else for it." After I finished speaking, I turned to leave. The next second, Liu Ruyan hugged me from behind. She pressed her face against the back of my ear. My body trembled slightly. Liu Ruyan sneered. "Divorce? After the divorce, who will satisfy you? An ordinary woman can't possibly satisfy you easily." The usual Liu Ruyan, in public, acts like a graceful and powerful woman, but in that aspect, she was extremely rough. Sometimes I even felt she was mentally ill. Liu Ruyan went further and further. I finally couldn't take it anymore and raised my hand to slap her. The air seemed to freeze. This was the first time I had ever laid a hand on her. Perhaps it was also the first time the noble Miss Liu had been slapped in the face by a man, and the person who did it was her formerly most obedient husband. Liu Ruyan had a bad temper. Her face immediately darkened. The heated moments from just now were completely wiped away. It was as if the recent tremor was just an illusion. "Good, you know how to hit people now. You really want to divorce me. Lin Feng, 3 years ago, you tried everything to marry me. 3 years later, it's you again trying everything to leave me. Do you think the gates of the Liu family can be entered and exited so casually? Or that I, Liu Ruyan, am so good-tempered that I'd let others decide things for me?" I suddenly felt a chill run through my body. Liu Ruyan had finally spoken the truth. She hated me, Lin Feng. She hated the Lin family. She also hated Lin Shui. She hated that accident that forced her to marry me. That's why after the Lin family fell, even though Liu Ruyan clearly had the ability to help, she always stood by and watched. I didn't explain the past anymore. I just said faintly, "Liu Ruyan, before, it was my fault for not knowing my place. I liked you. Not anymore." After a long moment, I looked up at Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan was also looking at me. Her gaze was so deep it was incomprehensible, but I didn't want to understand either. My tone was a bit weary. "Liu Ruyan, I'm really tired. Let's just part ways peacefully." After saying that, I opened the door and walked out. This time, Lu Ruyan didn't stop me. She just stood there, watching my retreating figure. A long time later, she lowered her eyes and smiled coldly. Most divorces are a fight to the bitter end. There's no such thing as parting peacefully. When I left the Lu Corporation building, my mind wouldn't stop, replaying the words Lu Ruyan had said. Come home with me. You're still my husband. Do you think the gates of the Lu family can be entered and exited so casually? Or that I, Lu Ruyan, am so good-tempered that I'd let others decide things for me? Those words left me breathless. I stayed outside to calm down for a long time before returning to the rented house. An old apartment complex, a few dozen square meters with only the most basic furniture. Compared to the old Lin family villa, it was truly a world of difference. That day, Aunt Sue stood in the cramped living room, silent for a long time. I knew she wasn't used to it, but this was all I could afford right now. In the kitchen, Aunt Sue was simmering soup again. Seeing me return, she put down what she was doing. How is your sister? I didn't mention what happened with Lu Ruyan. I lowered my head to change my shoes at the door. I said softly, Sister told me to find a lawyer named Meng Yanhui. She said he can help us win the case. Meng Yanhui. Aunt Sue pondered. I think I've heard that name before. In any case, no matter what, you have to find a way to get a hold of this person. If he's really that capable, your sister might be able to get out. I hummed in agreement. I just called Zhou Ye. I asked him to help me ask around. Zhou Ye and I have known each other since childhood. After graduating from college, Zhou Ye became a model. He's been all over the world. He has a very wide network. Hearing Zhou Ye's name, Aunt Sue's expression was a bit complicated. She used to dislike me hanging out with Zhou Ye. She felt that Zhou Ye, being in the entertainment industry, was a complicated person. She never thought there would come a day when we'd need to ask him for help. Aunt Sue was silent for a moment. She ladled a bowl of soup for me. Drink up. It's nourishing. You've lost a lot of weight lately. Aren't you starting work at the training center next week? I lowered my head to look at the soup. I said softly, I'm not going anymore. I'll find another job. Shuru sat down too. What happened? I didn't want her to worry. I pretended to be casual. It was Liu Ruyan. She spoke to them. They rejected me. It's okay, Aunt Shu. I can find another job. There are so many job listings in the paper. I'll find something. I thought Shuru would scold me, but Shuru was silent for a long time. She only said one thing. It's good that your sister can get out. She stood up and went into the kitchen, but a moment later, Shu Ruo's voice came from the kitchen, laced with a bit of restraint. Lin Feng, do you think I'm that heartless? Forcing you to live by watching Liu Ruyan's every mood? What kind of person she is? How could your father and I not know? But what can we do? What if your sister can't get out? What will you do then? As Shuru spoke, she started to cry. My heart ached too, but I still suppressed my emotions. Aunt Shu, I'm a grown-up now. Even without my sister, I can still support this family. Shuru cried harder. I searched for several days but couldn't find a suitable job. I knew in my heart that any slightly high-end place had already been warned not to hire me. So I lowered my standards and went to a performance company. They called it a company, but it was really just doing gigs for grand openings and anniversaries, getting paid per performance. I'm quite handsome and I play the violin well. The person in charge paid me 300 yuan per show. When it was busy, I'd have to do 3 or 4 shows a day. I played the violin for at least 6 hours every day. My long, slender fingers soon became calloused and blistered. Life was hard, rushing around, but I never regretted it. I didn't call Liu Ruyan, and neither did Liu Ruyan. Occasionally, I would see news about her, attending banquets, acquiring companies. On every occasion, Liu Ruyan was always so elegant and noble. In the evening, on the hospital rooftop, I sat quietly. Next to me was a bottle I had just bought from the convenience store, a cold bottle of Coke. If it were before, I wouldn't drink this kind of stuff, because it's unhealthy. But now I'd have some occasionally. Xia Jingyi arrived at this moment. Wearing a surgeon's white coat, she stood next to me, quietly watching the sunset with me. The last ray of golden sunlight disappeared. I turned my head and saw Xia Jingyi. I quickly stood up. A bit awkward, Dr. Xia. Xia Jingyi's eyes looked at me with a distant memory. It was very gentle, making me feel uneasy. Just then, Xia Jingyi looked into the distance. She said softly, Lin Feng, when you were little, you always called me Sister Jingyi. On summer nights, you liked to sleep in a small tent. My mom would often bring you food. She has missed you a lot these past few years. I was stunned for a long time. Finally, I remembered. I mumbled her name, Sister Jingyi. Those 3 words carried a hint of bitterness when I said them. Because in the years with Sister Jingyi, I was carefree, still that pampered neighborhood boy. Meeting again, so much has changed. Xia Jingyi tilted her head and looked at me quietly. Then, she took a bank card out of her pocket. There's 2 million yuan in here. The password is your birthday. It should be enough for your uncle's hospital bills. I refused to take it. I can earn the money myself, really. Xia Jingyi looked at my hands. There were several band-aids on them. Her voice caught in her throat. Lin Feng, you don't have to work so hard. She took out some ointment to treat my wounds. After she was done, I gently curled my fingers. I said slowly, Before, I always lived under someone else's protection. I had no self. It's true that I have nothing now, but I'm only 24. I want to start over on my own. After saying that, I looked up at Xia Jingyi. She was still the same. Her gaze was gentle, carrying a hint of depth. I was at the hospital for only 2 hours. At 7 p.m., I rushed to a bar's grand opening. By the time it ended, it was already dawn. I walked with my violin on the deserted street. A cold wind blew past, and I couldn't help but shiver. Late at night, the neon lights were dim. The giant screen of a skyscraper was playing tabloid news, propping up the prosperity of the night. City B's business magnate Liu Ruyan specially flew to City H to spend a romantic mid-autumn festival with her confidant. In the picture, Secretary Qin was pushing Feng Yuan's wheelchair, blocked by reporters at the elevator door. Beside them, Liu Ruyan looked impatient. I thought maybe because she was caught on camera, she was quite angry. Next was Feng Yuan's interview. He smiled brightly for the camera. This mid-autumn festival was a lot of fun. Next, I hope my leg can be cured. Also, I hope to be able to study the violin with the musical genius, Teacher Wei. You're asking about Miss Liu? Miss Liu is the most important woman in my life. After he spoke, a flicker of guilt appeared in Feng Yuan's eyes. 4 years ago, he had impersonated me, making Liu Ruyan think he was the one playing the violin every day. He was afraid Liu Ruyan would find out, but he quickly convinced himself. When Liu Ruyan woke up, it was Feng Yuan sitting in the hospital room holding the violin. Liu Ruyan would never know. Late at night, on the streets of City B, I stood silently, my head slightly raised, watching Liu Ruyan's care for another man on the big screen. Until I was frozen stiff, I dazedly came back to my senses. I whispered softly, so it's the mid-autumn festival already. I shouldered my violin, turned and left. The streetlights on both sides stretched, my shadow out very long. Perhaps it was because Feng Yuan was too ostentatious, it finally alerted Mrs. Liu. Mrs. Liu came to find me. At that time, I was performing at a supermarket, wearing a cheap tuxedo rented from the performance company. I even had a few band-aids on while playing the violin. If you didn't know, who would have thought this was Mr. Lin of the Liu Corporation? Mrs. Liu stood below the stage, her expression somewhat stern. I saw her. My fingers faltered, but I immediately focused on playing. During the break, Mrs. Liu came over. Her tone was cold and distant. There's a coffee shop outside. I'll wait for you there. She left after saying that. I continued to wipe my violin. My colleague next to me was worried. He leaned in and whispered, Lin Feng, are you in some kind of trouble? That woman just now didn't look easy to deal with. I shook my head with a faint smile. It's nothing. She's just an elder I know. He was half convinced, half doubtful. I changed into my own clothes and went to the coffee shop at the entrance. Mrs. Liu was sitting by the window. Because she was so elegant, she stood out. I walked over and sat down. Mrs. Liu ordered me a glass of lemonade. She said faintly, coffee is bad for your health. She then looked at my clothes and couldn't help but scold me. If you want to experience life, I can arrange the best orchestra for you. What kind of place is this? Is this a place you should be? And what are these clothes you're wearing? Before Liu Ruyan gets back, everything must be put back in its place. This is such a mess. She said a lot. I just listened quietly. Finally, I gave a very faint smile. I think this is very good. Besides, Liu Ruyan and I are getting a divorce. Where she's gone, don't you know? Mrs. Liu was stunned. This was the first time I had spoken to her in such a tone. Moreover, I didn't address her even once. Before, no matter how coldly Liu Ruyan treated me, I was always very respectful when I met her. For a moment, Mrs. Liu was a bit unaccustomed to it, so I said it plainly. I know you don't like me. So for you to come find me today, I'm quite surprised. I always thought you hoped more for me and Liu Ruyan to divorce. Mrs. Liu quietly sized me up. It had been a while. I had changed. No longer subservient, I had become sharp and clever. But Mrs. Liu, after all, had been in high society for decades. Of course she had her methods. Hearing this, she smiled. A light smile. A moment later, Mrs. Liu's smile vanished. It's true, I don't like you very much. But in comparison, I'm even less fond of Feng Yuan entering our family. That kind of person from a messy background dares to dream of climbing into the Liu family. She suddenly smiled again. But he doesn't stand a chance. A broken leg and previously divorced. Even an ordinary woman wouldn't want him, let alone Liu Ruyan. I felt a chill all over after hearing that, but Mrs. Liu was very composed. She sighed softly. You are very handsome. No wonder Liu Ruyan, despite her hatred, can't let go. After speaking, Mrs. Liu stood up. She looked around. She said faintly, I'll talk to Liu Ruyan. I'll tell her to take you back. Finally, she showed a look of disgust again. This place doesn't suit you. Mrs. Liu stepped out of the coffee shop. A black luxury car was already waiting outside. The driver respectfully opened the car door. After Mrs. Liu got in, she leaned against the luxurious seat and slowly sighed. She knew what I was thinking. It was just a lack of freedom, like a kept pet, a wife who doesn't respect you. But who hasn't been through that? Still too young, too impulsive. Thinking of this, Mrs. Liu felt another wave of disgust. She looked out the window and saw someone else, a familiar person. This person had an extraordinary air standing out in the crowd. But in Mrs. Lia's eyes, he was like a thorn in her eye, a thorn in her side. She muttered, This little brat. The driver in front almost thought he misheard. How could the madam say such vulgar words? He must have misheard. Mrs. Liu left. In the coffee shop, I sat alone for a few minutes. I didn't have time to mourn anything because I was very busy. Busy making a living, busy hustling. When I got home late at night, it started to rain. Afraid of getting the violin wet, I took off my jacket to cover it. I ran quickly towards the bus stop. I rarely dared to take a taxi, but it's very hard to get a cab on rainy days. I stood in the pouring rain for half an hour. I was so cold I was shivering. Finally, I decided to run home. But after just 2 steps, I saw Liu Ruyan. Ahead, on the side of the glistening wet road, a sleek, black luxury car was parked. The car window was half down, revealing Liu Ruyan's noble face. She was wearing an elegant, long black dress, looking as if she had just come from a formal event. Her whole being exuded a relaxed and gentle aura, which only highlighted my pathetic state. Through a curtain of rainy night, our eyes met, staring silently. I was so cold my lips trembled. My hands clutched the violin tightly, as if grasping the last straw in my life. I knew clearly in my heart this was the way out Liu Ruyan was giving me. Right now, I just needed to soften a little. Get in the car, and I would immediately have clean blankets and hot water. Tomorrow morning, I wouldn't have to perform at the shopping mall anymore. I would wake up in a luxurious, soft, big bed, becoming that Mr. Lin again. But that's not what I want. I stood in the rain, silently looking at her. The rain grew heavier, soaking my hair and blurring our gazes. About a minute later, I covered my head with one hand and ran forward into the rain. Rainwater splashed up, splashing onto the expensive car body. She and I passed each other in the rainy night. On the late-night street, the sound of me running in the rain tapped lightly and faintly on Liu Ruyan's heart. Annoyed she didn't get out of the car, she let me pass by. She saw that my face was drained of all color. He saw the medical tape on my fingers. He also looked me up and down. I wasn't wearing a single decent set of clothes, but even so, I didn't bow my head to him. The rain continued to fall. On the car's windshield, the wipers moved back and forth incessantly. Inside the car, the driver and Secretary Qin were both silent, because anyone could see that Liu Ruyan was in a terrible mood. After a long while, Liu Ruyan finally spoke softly. Secretary Qin, can you explain something? Why isn't Lin Feng working at that institution, but chose this rather indecent performance company instead? Does he like to suffer? Secretary Qin's heart pounded. He hesitated for a long moment before saying quietly, I thought doing so might make the young master come home sooner. CEO Liu, I can go and explain to the young master that this was not your intention. In the dim light, Liu Ruyan's tone carried a hint of mockery. In his heart, is there any difference between you doing it and me doing it? Secretary Qin felt a sense of relief, but right after, her voice suddenly turned cold and cruel. Get out of the car. Secretary Qin was stunned. CEO Liu, it's raining outside. Liu Ruyan leaned back against the seat. She tilted her head up slightly. She let out a scoff. Lin Feng can run around on the street. Secretary Qin, what part of you makes you feel that you're more precious than Lin Feng? Secretary Qin was in an extremely awkward position. He knew in his heart this was Liu Ruyan's punishment for him, because he had taken it upon himself to pressure me. Liu Ruyan's meaning was very clear. Either get out and run, or get lost from the Liu family. He had underestimated my position in Liu Ruyan's heart, and he had also overestimated himself. Secretary Qin tremblingly got out of the car. The rain was heavy, soaking his business suit. His head and face were covered in water. Gritting his teeth, he ran in the rain. The driver in front watched, dumbfounded. You have to know, Secretary Qin was usually the most arrogant person. Relying on being CEO Lia's subordinate, he looked down on others a lot. He never expected to have a day like this. Liu Ruyan leaned against the back seat, also watching quietly. But in her heart, she was thinking about me. She was wondering why she had to force me to come back. My personality was too soft. Not the type she liked. Actually, Liu Ruyan had never liked anyone. Even when she had considered marrying Feng Yuan before our marriage, it was only because when she woke up, she was astonished by the sound of a violin from her memory. It's just that later, Feng Yuan's playing. She didn't like listening to it anymore. It gave her a headache. As for me, perhaps it was habit. A few days ago, she had a pair of earrings that she couldn't find. If I were there, I would have immediately told her its exact location. Also, yesterday morning, she went into the changing room to get dressed and got an electric shock from the metal handle on the wardrobe. This was the first time since we got married. When I was at home, I was very mindful of the humidity in the house. Every autumn and winter, I would wrap everything prone to static electricity in insulating covers. Life with me was actually very comfortable, but she enjoyed it while paying me no mind. On that rainy night, Liu Ruyan leaned against the car, thinking about all sorts of things concerning me. Finally, she determined that the reason she wanted me to come back was because I was suitable to be Mr. Lin, not because she liked me. I ran towards the rented house from a distance. I saw Aunt Shu standing downstairs with an umbrella, waiting anxiously for me. I slowed my pace. Aunt Shu, why did you come back? Back at home, Aunt Shu took a towel to dry my hair. While talking, she said, I was worried, so I came back to check on you. The rain is so heavy. Why didn't you take a taxi home? I said, startled. It's hard to get a taxi when it's raining. After that, I went to take a shower. When I came out, Aunt Shu had reheated soup for me to warm up. While I was drinking the soup, Aunt Shu hesitated for a moment before asking, "How are things between you and Liu Ruyan?" I paused for a moment, then continued drinking the soup. I just said quietly, "She refuses to divorce. For now, I can't find anyone willing to take on this divorce case, but I've already filed for separation. At most, it'll be 2 years. Even if she doesn't agree, the divorce can still go through." Aunt Shu didn't say anything more. She quietly applied medicine for me. Looking at the wounds on my fingertips, Aunt Shu's eyes welled up. Back then, I was the top student at the music conservatory. So many famous masters wanted to take me in. Even that musical genius, Master Wei, had come to our house several times back then. And yet now, I was playing the violin in a place like this. I realized what she was thinking. I comforted Aunt Shu. "Once Dad gets better and my sister gets out of prison, I'll continue my studies." Only then did Aunt Shu smile. "I believe in you. Then you can become a musician too." I also smiled lightly with her. I hadn't smiled like that in a very long time. Back in my room, I sat by the bed, carefully cleaning my violin, cherishing it. Just then, my phone rang. It was the manager of the performance company calling. He said that a high-end French restaurant was opening tomorrow, and they required a high-class performance. The manager laughed heartily. "I immediately thought of you, Lin Feng. 4 hours of playing for 5,000 yuan. It's like money falling from the sky. Lin Feng, I know you're short on cash. Well, split this 50-50. It's a great deal, isn't it? 2,500 yuan for 4 hours. I immediately stood up. Normally, I don't like socializing, but this time I had to say a few pleasant words. The manager specifically reminded me to dress formally tomorrow. I agreed. After hanging up, I couldn't help but hug my violin, caressing it over and over. After a moment of joy, I went to pick out a suitable outfit. After searching for a long time, I found a white shirt set, cotton fabric and black trousers. I looked at it and touched it, feeling a bit dazed. This was the outfit I wore when I was still Mr. Lin. I hadn't worn it in a very long time. The next night, the high-end French restaurant, located on a prime street in City B, was brightly lit. Waitstaff moved about carrying trays. I wore a crisp suit. My black hair was neatly combed back. My pristine white collar was adorned with an exquisite tie clip. I was incredibly handsome. Under the crystal lights, my appearance while playing the violin was exceptionally dashing. Through the floor-to-ceiling glass, a black Bentley was parked outside. Liu Ruyan leaned against the car, holding a glass of red wine. This was the first time Liu Ruyan had seen me play the violin. Her eyes, as she looked at me, revealed an inexplicable trace of contempt and a possessiveness that even she didn't recognize. She didn't enter the restaurant, just stood outside waiting. She saw that occasionally some ladies were astonished by me and even offered me their business cards, but I politely declined them all with a smile. I just played my violin. Liu Ruyan was quite satisfied. She thought that as long as I went home with her, my recent rebellion could be treated as if it had never happened. At 10:30 p.m., the restaurant closed. I put away my violin and said goodbye to the restaurant manager. The restaurant manager was quite pleased with me. He cheerfully paid my fee, saying he would hire me again next time. I thanked him again. I walked out of the restaurant. When Liu Ruyan saw me come out, she leaned forward, about to call me. But someone beat her to it. Lin Feng. I looked in the direction of the voice. A few steps away, Xia Jingyi had just parked her car. She waved at me through the car window. "Get in, I'll take you home." I felt it was too late, and a bit inconvenient. I was about to refuse when Xia Jingyi took from the passenger seat a thermal container. My mom's handmade dumplings. "Celery filling, your favorite. She told me to bring them to you." I felt a little embarrassed. "Auntie still remembers." Xia Jingyi smiled very gently. She leaned over and opened the passenger door. "Get in, it's on my way." I couldn't refuse any longer. I got in the car. I buckled my seatbelt. "Then I'll have to trouble you." Xia Jingyi placed both hands on the steering wheel and tilted her head to look at me holding the thermal container. Her gaze was warm. "If you're hungry, open it and eat. They're still hot." But I didn't want to appear too familiar. Besides, I was also afraid of getting her car dirty. I shook my head. "I want to eat them at home." Xia Jingyi didn't insist. She gently pressed the accelerator. A moment later, she said cheerfully, "Taking your time to eat at home is good too." The white BMW slowly drove away. About 10 meters away, Liu Ruyan watched in the direction the car left. Her face was so dark it looked like it could drip water. She took out her phone from the car and made a call. She quickly received a reply. It was just as she thought. The owner behind this restaurant was Xia Jingyi. Perhaps because I was too tired, I actually fell asleep in the car. The car stopped. I was still asleep. Xia Jingyi leaned over to look at me, at my handsome but somewhat weary face, at my tall figure hidden beneath my trousers. She had never looked at a man so frankly before. Previously, in her eyes, I was just a young boy. But many years had passed. I had grown into a mature man. Moreover, it was Liu Ruyan who had single-handedly molded me into what I am today. Xia Jingyi's feelings were a bit complicated. She couldn't help but softly, gently touch my angular yet somewhat haggard face. Her voice was slightly hoarse. "I clearly knew you first." I woke up. I opened my eyes, looking around. "We're here already?" When I met Xia Jingyi's gaze, I froze for a moment. I unconsciously tightened my grip on the food container in my hands. I was a grown man. I was not slow-witted. The 2 million yuan check, the specially delivered handmade dumplings, insisting it was all because of old friendship, felt a bit too forced. I considered for a moment and spoke softly. Jingyi, I can handle my family's affairs. You don't have to worry about them in the future. Xia Jingyi looked at me quietly. We were both grown men and women. How could she not understand this implication? I guessed her thoughts and had also rejected her. He was probably wary of Liu Ruyan, afraid of implicating her. Xia Jingyi didn't make things difficult for me. She tapped lightly on the food container in my hand. She smiled gently. All right, you can come to me if you need anything. To say I wasn't moved at all would be impossible. The kindness of helping someone in their time of need. Anyone would be grateful for it. It's just that the adult world always has too many worries. After a while, I stood in the night wind, watching the white BMW slowly drive away. After the car had left, I slowly walked into the old hallway. The light in the hallway had been broken for several days. There was no management, so repairs were a bit slow. It was pitch black everywhere. I was about to turn on my phone's flashlight to light the way when a pair of soft female hands embraced me. Stumbling a few steps, I was pushed against the hallway wall by that woman. Through a crack in the window, a sliver of moonlight, I saw Liu Ruyan's enraged face. She looked like she was catching me in the act. Liu Ruyan stared at me. Her dark, cold eyes could freeze a person, hard met soft. The entire posture was too indecent to look at directly. Liu Ruyan's face pressed against my ear. You want to divorce me for her? I shook my head, about to speak, when a low, lingering moan escaped. Liu Ruyan had been my wife for 3 years. She knew how to make me act quickly, how to make me feel good. In the dark, old hallway, we had been raised with an elite education since childhood. I was the most orthodox gentleman of high society. Liu Ruyan was even more particular about her environment, to the point of being a bit of a neat freak, but at this moment she didn't care at all. Liu Ruyan was practically insane. I was on the verge of collapsing. No, Liu Ruyan, calm down. But she didn't listen at all. Do you know who she is? Don't you realize she looks a bit like me, trying to find a replacement? She was familiar with my body, and her technique was masterful. After a long while, she leaned against my shoulder. The soft skin under the black shirt became fair and delicate. My body was still in the afterglow. I could be sure that Liu Ruyan and Xia Jingyi had a conflict. I had no other choice. I could only carry her out of this dilapidated hallway first. I carried her to the car parked in the alley. The black Bentley was completely out of place with the old, worn surroundings. I turned on the air conditioning in the car and pulled out a few tissues to throw at her. Since I had asked her for a divorce, her body had not been relieved for a long time. After slightly adjusting her clothes, she finally calmed down. I thought about Liu Ruyan's state of mind. Actually, it wasn't hard to guess. It was simply that her not-yet-divorced husband was being too intimate with another woman. It just made her uncomfortable. It had nothing to do with love. As for this absurd intimacy, I only felt humiliated. I intentionally taunted her. Liu Ruyan, you're not jealous, are you? Liu Ruyan reached out and gently touched my face. She scoffed. You really know how to flatter yourself. I'm just reminding you. Right now, you are still Mr. Lin. Don't get involved with irrelevant women. My smile faded even more. So it's okay for you? Liu Ruyan's gaze was deep. Regarding Fang Yuan's matter, she actually didn't pay much attention to it. Most of the time, Secretary Qin handled it for her. Sometimes when she was on business in City H, she would only occasionally drop by to see him when it was convenient. But she didn't explain these things to me, because it wasn't necessary. Her losing control like this today. She thought it was because of Xia Jingyi, not because she cared about me. Liu Ruyan shifted into a more comfortable position, but I wanted to leave. As soon as I moved, Liu Ruyan grabbed my hand. Wait. Liu Ruyan tilted her head and looked at me. Her gaze was one I was familiar with. This was how Liu Ruyan looked when she was discussing business, devoid of any emotion. After a long while, Liu Ruyan took from her wallet a bank card and handed it to me. It's your supplementary card. The monthly limit is 2 million yuan. If that's not enough, I'll have Secretary Qin add more. I looked at that platinum card. My heart stirred. Honestly, this was the kind of good treatment I had once hoped for. After the Lin family collapsed, I desperately needed money. So even if it was humiliating, I still accepted the 100,000 yuan Liu Ruyan gave me each month. But now I knew very well what accepting this card meant. It meant that I, Lin Feng, would have to go back to being Mr. Lin. It meant that I would have to be like before, taking meticulous care of her in her daily life. Then I would also need to transform myself into an appearance that suited her aesthetic, catering to all her preferences. I would also need to accompany her to parties. I just had to be obedient. I didn't need a soul, because these were the things Liu Ruyan was buying. I refused her card. I grabbed the car door handle and said softly, Liu Ruyan, your kindness has come too late. Even now, you still don't understand why we can't continue living together. The car was originally dark. Liu Ruyan reached out and pressed a button. The interior light came on. It was dazzling. I instinctively closed my eyes. Liu Ruyan lightly toyed with the bank card. Her voice was full of mockery. Are you talking about feelings? Lin Feng, do you think the two of us still have a chance to develop feelings? Don't you forget how we got married in the first place? Her expression changed. So don't force things that don't belong to you. I didn't want to explain anymore. My expression was weary. Does it belong to Fang Yuan then? Liu Ruyan, if you care about him and feel for him so much, why don't you marry him? A man's first time isn't actually that important. We slept together that year. But if you hadn't wanted to marry me, I wouldn't have done anything either. And now, isn't getting a divorce a good thing? I'm tired. I softly uttered a few words. Let's set each other free. After saying that, I opened the car door and got out. I left without looking back. Liu Ruyan didn't stop me. She sat in the car with a blank expression. After a long while, she lazily reached out to turn off the dome light. As she turned off the light, the corner of her eye glanced at the messy pile of tissues. Liu Ruyan recalled the recent dreamlike encounter. Actually, she had also noticed my difference. If this had been before and she was here with me, even if I had felt more pleasure, but just now, my appearance was completely indifferent. I left decisively. Liu Ruyan leaned against the seat back. She raised a hand to rub her forehead. In her career, she was extremely ambitious. So in her private life, she wasn't as vibrant as other women. She didn't love me. But I was handsome enough, obedient enough. Liu Ruyan had no interest in other men. Now, a husband who refused to come home was causing her annoyance. The hallway was still dark. The ambiguous scent of a man and woman entwined still lingered. I suppressed my humiliation and picked up the dropped dumpling container and the forgotten violin. I dragged my tired body home. Just as I was about to open the door, a voice called out, Lin Feng. The hallway light suddenly turned on. I saw a familiar face, Zhou Ye. It took me a long time to come to my senses. How did you find this place? I made a trip to the hospital. Aunt Shu gave me the address. Zhou Ye said, tilting his chin. I came straight here after getting off the plane. Hurry up and make me something to eat. I've been hungry for almost 12 hours. The food on the plane was impossible to swallow. I opened the door and let him in. As soon as Zhou Ye entered with his luggage, his brows furrowed. He turned and patted my shoulder. Lin Feng, you've suffered. It's nothing, Zhou Ye. Really, I'm used to it. Zhou Ye said nothing. He knew I was lying. A place like this, how could I possibly be used to it? I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. In the past, my bathroom at home was bigger than this entire room. It took him a long moment. Waiting until he had calmed down, Zhou Ye tried to act casual. Make me a meal. I'm going to take a shower first. He'll stay at your place tonight. We brothers haven't seen each other in a long time. We can have a little chat. While Zhou Ye was showering, I finished cooking. The two of them sat down to eat. Zhou Ye, to ease the atmosphere, leaned close to me and whispered, Just now, while I was waiting for you, there was some noise in your hallway. I looked up, and Zhou Ye's expression became even more mysterious. He coughed lightly. It was that kind of thing. It was too dark for me to see clearly, but I'm sure my guess is right. I suddenly remembered that in the hallway just now it was me and Liu Ruyan. I didn't expect Zhou Ye to have heard it. Of course, I didn't want to admit it, but Zhou Ye has a nose like a dog. He looked at my expression and then leaned in to sniff. There was a faint scent of women's perfume on my neck. Zhou Ye stared at me intently. It was you and Liu Ruyan, wasn't it? I lowered my head and ate my noodles. After a moment, I replied that she had come over. Zhou Ye stabbed at his noodles. This is infuriating. You two have already made such a scene and she still wants to be intimate? Besides, no matter what, you shouldn't be fooling around in the hallway. I thought she usually acts so cold and aloof. Is she so wild in private? I was too ashamed to talk about what Liu Ruyan did at my place. Zhou Ye was indignant on my behalf, bringing up Liu Ruyan and Fang. Zhou Ye's eyes stared intently. Was it you and Liu Ruyan? I lowered my head and ate my noodles. After a moment, I replied that she had come over. Zhou Ye stabbed at his noodles. This is infuriating. You two have already made such a scene and she still wants to be intimate? Besides, no matter what, you shouldn't be fooling around in the hallway. I thought she usually acts so cold and aloof. Is she so wild in private? I was too ashamed to talk about what Liu Ruyan did at my place. Zhou Ye was indignant on my behalf, and he cursed out Liu Ruyan and Fang Yuan. After venting his anger, he put his hand on my shoulder and said seriously, Aunt Shu told me everything about your family, Lin Feng. Playing the violin in those places isn't a solution. We have to protect our reputation. As Zhou Ye spoke, he took out a cigarette and lit it, slowly taking a drag. Zhou Ye is a model. He's very thin. When he smokes, his face has a somewhat dissolute look, which is very attractive. He stared at me for a moment. Zhou Ye said you should go to Su Lingyan's place. After all, it's a proper 6-star hotel. Performing there, the class of the audience is a bit higher. I've already spoken to her. 2,000 a night, not a penny less. 4 days off a month. I knew about the relationship between Zhou Ye and Su Lingyan. I wanted to refuse, but Zhou Ye was extremely insistent. He slowly exhaled a plume of pale gray smoke with an indifferent expression. She and I have been involved for a long time. I didn't dare to respond. Zhou Ye patted my shoulder. There's something you need to pay attention to. Do you remember Master Wei? I heard a tycoon in the country set up a project fund and invited him back to lead it. The condition was for Master Wei to mentor his little lover. I knew it was Liu Ruyan who invited him. Zhou Ye was shocked. That little lover is Fang Yuan? Lin Feng? Why do these two keep haunting us? If it weren't for that accident back then, you would have gone to study abroad with Master Wei long ago. There wouldn't have been this later business with Liu Ruyan. Zhou Ye took a drag from his cigarette to calm himself. Finally, he complained, that Liu Ruyan is truly a diamond. This price for one night together is too damn high. He thought I would back down, but I calmly spoke up. Master Wei already called me. He said he hopes that during his 4 years in the country, I can study with him. Zhou Ye said excitedly, if you miss this opportunity, Lin Feng, you'll be the first one who won't forgive you. Early the next morning, Zhou Ye took me to Su Lingyan's hotel. The Royal Court Hotel is the most luxurious in City B, a standard 6-star. Normally, this matter wouldn't require Su Lingyan's attention, but to show her respect for Zhou Ye, Su Lingyan still met me personally to arrange my work. Every evening from 8 to 11 p.m., a 3-hour work shift. A monthly salary of 60,000. It could be said to be extremely generous. I knew in my heart that Su Lingyan did this out of respect for Zhou Ye. I looked towards Zhou Ye. Zhou Ye winked at me. Su Lingyan shot him a glare and called the hotel manager over, telling him to take me to familiarize myself with the environment. After the people left, Su Lingyan went to the door and locked it from the inside. This office has an attached break room, but he deliberately didn't use it, doing it right on the desk instead. After 3 hours, for sure. She didn't pay him any mind either, just stood up and left him there and went to take a shower herself. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. Zhou Ye was limp on the floor, but he didn't care that much. He just lit a cigarette and smoked it nonchalantly. You know, Su Lingyan can't understand why someone like her would treat me so well. Actually, it was I who treated him well. He and I knew each other since middle school. Back then, his parents were addicted to gambling. They sold everything they could in the house. The only thing left was to sell Zhou Ye himself. Then his parents lost everything and jumped off a building. He became an orphan, with nowhere to live. He couldn't even pay his school fees. His classmates shunned him, looking at him like he was a freak. Finally, one day, he couldn't take it anymore and stood on the rooftop. I was the one who pulled him down from the rooftop. I was the one who secretly brought him home, changed his clothes, gave him a hot bath, and then went to the kitchen to get him a heaping plate of food. That was a taste Zhou you would never forget, even in death. I hid him for 3 days. Then I begged Lin Shui to rent a house for him. I was the one who supported him for 6 years. No one knows what I mean to him. As long as I need it, Zhou Ye is willing to do anything and can give up anything. Zhou Ye finished his cigarette, put on his clothes, and left decisively. When Su Lingyan came out of the shower, Zhou Ye was long gone. She slowly walked to the desk, staring at the small puddle on the desk. The corner of her mouth twitched upwards slightly. Actually, Zhou Ye is very smart. Liu Ruyan would also show him some respect. I just don't know what Liu Ruyan's reaction will be. Probably nothing. Su Lingyan had heard a thing or two. My marriage with Liu Ruyan didn't start happily. We've been married for several years, but we've always been distant, and we don't even have a child. In our social circle, people are even betting on when Liu Ruyan will divorce me. Aren't there rumors outside that she's keeping someone? Liu Corporation? Secretary Qin knocked on the door. After getting permission, he pushed the door open and entered. Liu Ruyan was on the phone. The call was from Madame Liu. The content of the conversation was exactly what Secretary Qin wanted to report to Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan, are you just going to let Lin Feng show his face like that? What kind of person is Su Lingyan? And that person named Zhou Ye, his reputation is so terrible. Lin Feng absolutely cannot associate with him. Liu Ruyan, you have to manage your husband properly. Liu Ruyan's tone was a bit distracted. Mom, Lin Feng is demanding a divorce. How can I manage him? Madame Liu cared most about the Liu family's reputation. She talked for a long time, but her daughter still didn't listen. She hung up angrily. Liu Ruyan put down the phone and looked at Secretary Qin. Lin Feng has gone to Su Lingyan's place. Just as Secretary Qin was about to speak, he saw a velvet box by Liu Ruyan's hand. He recognized that box. Inside was my wedding ring, placed beside her. She must have opened it to look at it in her spare time. And on Liu Ruyan's ring finger, she always wore the silver wedding band. Liu Ruyan doesn't love me, but she always wears her wedding ring, reminding other men that she is married. Secretary Qin's fingers clenched slightly. After a moment, he smiled calmly. Yes, Zhou Ye introduced him. The model with the not-so-good reputation. I don't know how Mr. Lin got involved with him. Liu Ruyan didn't care about Zhou Ye, nor did she care about Su Lingyan. She remembered Xia Jingyi. The way Xia Jingyi looked at me was completely the look of a woman looking at the man she likes. Childhood neighbors was just an excuse. Liu Ruyan leaned back. She casually flipped through a document. Her tone was flat. Arranged tonight's social gathering with Li Yao at the Royal Court Hotel. Secretary Qin was surprised once again, because Liu Ruyan's social engagements were usually at business hotels, very discreet. This exception was because of Lin Feng. He was silent for a long moment. Liu Ruyan looked up at him. Is there a problem? Secretary Qin quickly lowered his head. CEO Liu, you'll arrange it immediately. 8 p.m., 56th floor of the Royal Court Hotel. Li Yao's group had already arrived, including Su Lingyan. A circle of people sat playing cards. Next to most of the women sat handsome young men, minor celebrities, and young models. This group of theirs was considered in City B, the most powerful second generation. Among them, Liu Ruyan was considered the apex. So when she arrived, a few people even deliberately stood up. After Liu Ruyan sat down, Su Lingyan personally poured her a glass of wine and teased, "You are a rare and honored guest of mine here. But there's someone even rarer, Liu Ruyan. You would never have expected it." Liu Ruyan had already guessed who it was, none other than Xia Jingyi. She was not happy. I walked out. As usual, I placed the violin on my shoulder. I was about to play when suddenly, my gaze froze. I saw Liu Ruyan. In the grand hall, the lights were dim. Liu Ruyan leaned back in her chair, exuding an air of nobility. She glanced at me coldly. Her gaze was very similar to how it was at home, when she would torment me, watching my solitary figure lost in desire. Even though I had asked her for a divorce, when our eyes met, I still couldn't help but tremble a little. When I played the violin, my hands trembled slightly, but it was still beautiful. Liu Ruyan was a little surprised. She didn't know much about music, but I played this nocturne exceptionally well. Besides being beautiful, it also felt a bit familiar, as if she had heard it somewhere before. Liu Ruyan was certain that before and after getting married, she had never heard me play the violin. So where could it have been? While she was thinking, the piece ended. Applause echoed around. Offstage, Li Yao also didn't expect to see me. She and I had some bad blood. Originally, her younger brother, Lei Diaofeng, had also passionately pursued Liu Ruyan, but I beat him to it. Having lost a marriage prospect like the Liu family, how could Li Yao be happy? She deliberately tried to make things difficult for me. She leaned over and smiled with a hint of probing. "Liu Ruyan, Lin Feng is here too?" Liu Ruyan toyed with her wine glass, saying nothing. Li Yao was then certain that Liu Ruyan didn't care about me, so she called out to me on the stage, "Lin Feng." I looked over. I knew Li Yao had no good intentions, but Su Lingyan was also there. I had to give face to Su Lingyan. As soon as I arrived, Li Yao poured me 3 glasses of white liquor. Li Yao spoke politely. "Lin Feng, I didn't expect to see you here. When you and Liu Ruyan got married back then, Diao Feng was immature and threw a little tantrum. Today, I apologize to you on his behalf." Li Yao often socialized. Her alcohol tolerance was no joke. 3 glasses of white liquor were like drinking water to her. After drinking, she stared at me. "Lin Feng, Mr. Lin here wouldn't look down on me, would you? You give me some face, right?" Su Lingyan sat there, a long slender finger propping up her chin. I was technically her employee, so she should have stepped in. But since Liu Ruyan didn't say anything, why would she? Besides, she also wanted to see Liu Ruyan's reaction. She looked towards Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan was leaning against the sofa, still toying with her wine glass. Her dark eyes were slightly lowered, her expression unreadable. It seemed she had no intention of getting involved. Su Lingyan thought to herself, "It seems Liu Ruyan and I are really about to get a divorce." She was about to say a few words to mediate, but I picked up a glass of white liquor. I looked at Li Yao silently and asked softly, "If I drink these 3 glasses, will you, from now on, no matter the situation, not make things difficult for me anymore?" Li Yao narrowed her eyes slightly. That's right. She had wanted to give me a hard time after my divorce from Liu Ruyan. A real hard time, but I turned out to be much smarter than she thought. But 3 glasses of liquor would be enough to make me suffer. Li Yao smiled faintly. "All right, I promise you. Finish these 3 glasses of wine, and our past issues will be completely wiped clean. Even if you and Liu Ruyan get divorced, I won't make trouble for you." I understood her to some extent. I wasn't afraid she'd go back on her word. I lowered my head and looked at the glass of white liquor in my hand. My alcohol tolerance is poor. 1 glass and I'm down. But I had no choice but to drink. The Lin family was on the verge of collapse. We couldn't afford to make more enemies. I tilted my head back and finished 1 glass of white liquor. After drinking it, my face immediately flushed hot and my whole face turned red. Li Yao felt a little excited inside. She herself didn't know what this feeling was. I finished 2 glasses. Su Lingyan spoke up. "Li Yao, that's enough." But Li Yao didn't back down, still intent on venting her anger. Actually, I was already not doing well, but I still picked up the 3rd glass. The hand holding the glass was trembling slightly. As I was about to drink, Liu Ruyan said softly, "That's enough." Everyone present was very surprised. Liu Ruyan stood up from the sofa. She grabbed my wrist with one hand and took the glass of white liquor from my other hand. She looked at Li Yao, her tone slightly displeased. "The last glass? You'll drink it for my husband." She tilted her head back and downed the glass of white liquor, then helped me leave. The scene fell silent. Anyone who wasn't a fool could see that Li Yao had offended Liu Ruyan. After a while, Su Lingyan patted Li Yao's shoulder. "Misjudged, didn't you? Don't even mention you. Even I didn't expect Liu Ruyan to step in. But on second thought, if she really didn't like him at all, she should have divorced him when the Lin family collapsed. This has dragged on for over a year." Li Yao leaned back in her chair, covering her eyes with her hand. She suddenly felt very upset inside. I had been drinking and was dead drunk. Liu Ruyan took me to the parking lot, opened the passenger door, and told me to get in. I didn't want to. I was drunk, but not completely out of it. I leaned against the car door, tilting my head up slightly. "Liu Ruyan, I don't want to go home with you." We're about to get a divorce. Liu Ruyan looked down at me from above, her dark eyes staring at me without blinking, looking at my unrestrained appearance after drinking. She had never seen me like this before. A white shirt and trousers, clearly very formal attire, yet at this moment it exuded a masculine charm. Liu Ruyan leaned close to my ear and said through gritted teeth, "Look at you now. Is there any trace of a gentleman left?" I raised my head to look at her. My eyes seemed a little clearer, but then they became hazy again. Liu Ruyan gave up trying to reason with me. She directly pushed me into the car, a bit roughly. I struggled, demanding to get out. My body leaned against the seat back, constantly murmuring words that Liu Ruyan didn't like. Liu Ruyan was furious. She directly locked the car from the inside and was about to fasten my seatbelt when her eyes caught sight of the car opposite them. There was someone sitting in the opposite car, Xia Jingyi. Both cars had their headlights on. The two women sat in their cars, looking at each other. Xia Jingyi's eyes were as dark as an ink-black night. So were Liu Ruyan's. After a long moment, Liu Ruyan leaned over to fasten my seatbelt. I was half drunk, half conscious, moving uncomfortably. I was still mumbling. "I'm not going back with you." Liu Ruyan gently caressed my face, her voice slightly hoarse. "If not with me, then who will you go back with?" After saying that, she didn't care what I was saying. She sat up straight and looked emotionlessly at Xia Jingyi opposite her. Then, under that person's gaze, she drove me away. The two luxury cars passed each other. Xia Jingyi's hands on the steering wheel tightened slightly, while Liu Ruyan let out a very cold sneer. The city lights gradually dimmed, and the night grew quiet. Liu Ruyan's car slowly drove into the villa. The housekeeper heard the noise and immediately came to open the car door for her, asking very obediently, "Mom, should I prepare a late-night snack?" After speaking, she froze for a moment. "The young master is back." Liu Ruyan unbuckled her seatbelt and said softly, "Make some sobering tea and bring it upstairs in a little while. The young master is drunk." The housekeeper hurriedly nodded and went to do it. Liu Ruyan leaned over to look at her husband in the passenger seat. I had fallen asleep in the car. Liu Ruyan was no saint. It had been a long time since she had done it. She gently reached out and took hold of me, toying with it a little. Her beautiful eyes stared at my face, watching my expression without blinking. I have needs too, especially since I was drunk. Being treated like this by Liu Ruyan, I unconsciously whispered her name, over and over. Liu Ruyan, Liu Ruyan. With a click, Liu Ruyan unbuckled my seatbelt. She got out of the car and helped me, heading straight into the villa. I had been drinking, and she was shaking me so much my head hurt. Liu Ruyan, slow down, slow down. I was clearly talking about walking, but it came out like that. Liu Ruyan couldn't resist leaning down to kiss me. The master bedroom, brilliant with crystal lights. The floor was a mess. The housekeeper finished making the sobering soup. It was supposed to be passed through. Through the crack in the door, he hastily retreated. Liu Ruyan was quite rushed. The clothes weren't even, torn off and put on me. My consciousness was hazy. I softly whispered Liu Ruyan's name. "Do you know? I actually don't like you anymore. I don't like you anymore." I've said it several times. Liu Ruyan's expression suddenly turned ugly. She glared at me fiercely, staring at me for a long time, softly uttered a few words. "Do you think I would care?" She really didn't need to care. Because she doesn't love me. Because our marriage was a mistake from the very beginning. Because reason told Liu Ruyan that right now, she absolutely didn't need to care about any childish feelings. She just needed an obedient, submissive husband. Right now, she didn't want to admit she was annoyed. She especially didn't want to admit that when I said I didn't like her, anger surged within her heart, and also a sense of displeasure, like an item that originally belonged to her, was suddenly taken away by someone else. She was even less willing to guess when it was that I stopped liking her. After a long while, she walked out of the bedroom and slowly went downstairs. Her face was cold, her expression as somber as still water. The maid was still awake. Seeing her expression, she was a little surprised. Weren't the mistress and young master just... "Why does the mistress look so unhappy?" Liu Ruyan's voice was faint. "Bring me some sobering tea." After the maid brought her the bowl of soup, she quickly retreated. Liu Ruyan carried the sobering tea upstairs. A faint, sweet scent lingered in the master bedroom, like the sweet fragrance of a budding June lotus. The floor was a mess. Liu Ruyan didn't care about that. She sat down on the edge of the bed. Her tone was very unpleasant. "Get up, drink the sobering tea, and then go back to sleep." I ignored her, my voice trembling. "Liu Ruyan, we shouldn't have done this." Liu Ruyan stared at me for a long time. Her voice was cold. "You still dare to speak? I really want to strangle you, so my mouth won't say those harsh words anymore." Liu Ruyan had always been arrogant. She rarely coaxed others. Besides, lately her body was truly pent up with desire. So right now, she couldn't be bothered with me. She lay down directly on the bed, turned off the light, and went to sleep. But with me sleeping right next to her, how could she possibly sleep? Tossing and turning for a long time, finally, Liu Ruyan reached out and pulled me. She pressed herself against my chest and ground her teeth by my ear. "You don't like me? Don't you even think about liking someone else?" I was a little cold, so at that moment, touching a source of heat, I unconsciously hugged her a little tighter. Liu Ruyan woke up first. She was woken up by the heat, holding something hot in her arms which soaked her bathrobe. Opening her eyes, she saw my abnormally flushed face. She reached out to touch it. My face was burning hot. Liu Ruyan immediately got up, quickly went downstairs, and told the maid to call Dr. Zhang to come over. The maid quickly asked, "Is the mistress unwell?" Liu Ruyan was going upstairs. Hearing that, she stopped. "Just say the young master has a fever. Tell him to come as soon as possible." Half an hour later, Dr. Zhang arrived in a hurry. In the bedroom, the maid had cleaned up everything. There wasn't a single trace of anything suggestive. The doctor examined me thoroughly and said the fever was quite high. Give him a shot to reduce the fever. Also, Mr. Lin's body is a bit weak. He needs to pay attention to nutrition. The doctor only said that much, but Liu Ruyan understood clearly that I was overworked, often not having time to eat. I used to be so pampered. The doctor gave me an injection. As he left, he advised that it was best to rest in bed for a day. Liu Ruyan nodded and told the maid to see the doctor downstairs. The maid saw the doctor off. A moment later, footsteps were heard on the stairs again. Liu Ruyan thought it was the maid coming back, so she ordered her to cook a bowl of plain porridge, let it cool, and then bring it upstairs. But at the door was Secretary Qin. In his hands, he was carrying several women's suit uniforms. They were clothes he had washed for Liu Ruyan last week. He deliberately brought them over early. When he saw me on the bed, he was very surprised. Why is he back? Moreover, it was obvious that Liu Ruyan had slept in the same bed with me last night, even though the bedroom had been cleaned and tidied. But on my neck, Liu had left. A faint hickey. Liu Ruyan saw it was him, then looked at the clothes in his hands and frowned slightly. "Leave the things on the sofa and go downstairs first. From now on, you don't need to do these things." Secretary Qin's gaze darkened, feeling an embarrassed sense of being exposed. He liked handling these private matters for Liu Ruyan, as if he were Liu Ruyan's husband. But this thought, Liu Ruyan seemed to have seen through it. What was he thinking when he went out? He was wondering why he was so hostile towards me, yet indifferent or even tolerant towards Fang Yuan. He probably knew in his heart that if Liu Ruyan were to like someone, it would only be me, because women all like the most handsome man. Liu Ruyan was no exception. Secretary Qin left. Liu Ruyan looked at me on the bed. I was still sleeping soundly. Liu Ruyan stood by the bed and reached out to gently pat my arm. I didn't react, so she used a little more force, until I uncomfortably turned my back to her. Only then did she feel a little better, but very quickly, her gaze became deep. Liu Ruyan went out to the living area outside, looking at the clothes that were washed very clean, but they still had the smell of a solvent she didn't like. Besides this, she disliked outsiders touching her personal belongings even more. Secretary Qin was sitting on the sofa in the first-floor hall. The maid poured him a cup of tea. He sat there drinking tea, his posture elegant and proper, looking like the master of the house. It was at this moment that Liu Ruyan came downstairs. Secretary Qin saw her with unconcealed admiration. He had pursued Liu Ruyan in college. His affection was not worth mentioning among the many prestigious young masters. Liu Ruyan sat down opposite him. Secretary Qin smiled and said with his professional demeanor, "Since Mr. Lin is back, then he will take over these matters from now on. CO Liu, in the future, will Mr. Lin's living expenses still need to be reported to and registered with me?" Liu Ruyan found these words offensive, because when I asked for a divorce, I also mentioned these things. Seeing she said nothing, Secretary Qin made his own decision. "Rest assured, CO Liu, I will arrange it properly." Liu Ruyan looked at him silently. She was a woman with normal thoughts, which man admired her, had designs on her. She could still sense it. She didn't mind before, because it didn't affect her life. But clearly, Secretary Qin had crossed the line. Liu Ruyan thought for half a minute and casually said, "Next month, you'll go to the company's branch in Canada. Your position and salary will remain unchanged." Secretary Qin was stunned for a long moment. He forced a stiff smile. "CEO Liu, I have a girlfriend." Liu Ruyan said nothing. Secretary Qin clenched his teeth. "Next month, CO Liu will receive my wedding invitation. This time, Liu Ruyan stood up wearily. Then I'll wait for your good news." Secretary Qin trembled all over. He knew clearly in his heart, Liu Ruyan did this because she saw through his intentions. She wouldn't allow him to like her. He couldn't help but ask, "CO Liu, is it because of me?" Liu Ruyan's footsteps paused slightly. A moment later, her voice was stern. "Not because of you, but because you crossed the line. She needs a capable secretary, not a petty person who plays clever tricks." The secretary still didn't seem to understand. I slept soundly for more than half a day. When I woke up, it was already getting dark. The bedroom light wasn't on. There was only a faint light. I sat up. My body still felt a little weak. I looked down at the gray pajamas I was wearing, guessing Liu Ruyan had changed them for me. The next second, the drunken memories came flooding back. The bedroom door. Liu Ruyan stood quietly watching me in a daze. She probably guessed what I was thinking. Liu Ruyan spoke casually. "Nothing happened. You were that drunk. What do you think you could have done?" During the silence between us, the maid brought porridge upstairs. The maid was a clever person, noticing the atmosphere wasn't right. She smiled placatingly and said, "The young master is sick." The mistress was very worried here. She specifically told us this morning to cook some nutritious and warming lotus root porridge for the young master. "Young master, please wash your face and drink it while it's hot. Your body will feel a little better. In front of the maid, I couldn't lose face. Liu Ruyan also understood my thoughts. She took the tray from the maid's hands. You can go downstairs first. The maid retreated. Liu Ruyan closed the door, turned around and placed the tray on the small round table in the bedroom, then looked up at me, still not getting up. Are you waiting for me to feed you? Her tone wasn't good, still resentful of my drunken confession last night. I was arguing with her. Even if I wanted a divorce, I wouldn't joke with my health. Besides, I was really hungry. The lotus root porridge was very fragrant. I finished a bowl and felt much better inside. By the floor-to-ceiling window, Liu Ruyan stood before the window. Her gaze passed through the window and landed on her cheek, making her face seem even more gentle and beautiful. After I finished the porridge, Liu Ruyan turned to look at me. Grandma called and asked us to visit. What do you say? Liu Ruyan's grandmother is very good to me, and I couldn't bear to break her heart. But Liu Ruyan and I are getting a divorce. Grandma will find out sooner or later. I considered for a moment and said, Liu Ruyan, you should explain it to Grandma. Explain what? Liu Ruyan's gaze was fiery. Explain to her that you want to divorce me so you can come visit her? What's the hurry? Afraid of ruining your good thing? I couldn't be bothered to explain to her. I stood up, wanting to change and leave, but Liu Ruyan wouldn't let me go. She blocked me with her arms outstretched, a hint of mockery on her face. What? You don't want to be Mr. Liu so much that you don't even want to touch the clothes? I didn't want to hear another word from her. I went into the dressing room and chose the most ordinary set of clothes to change into, grabbed my phone and prepared to leave. But Liu Ruyan stood up to follow. I'll see you out. I didn't refuse. This is the last time. Liu Ruyan acted as if nothing happened last night. Something like this won't happen again. In the yard, because she was angry, she slammed the car door very hard. If it were before, I would have definitely cared a lot. But now I just leaned back in the seat, thinking maybe she was sexually frustrated, or that she was angry because of Fang Yuan. Thinking of that person, my heart felt a little tight, my palm was grabbed by someone, and Liu Ruyan's faint voice was in my ear. What are you thinking about? I came to my senses and realized the car was stopped at an intersection, with a red light ahead. I pulled my hand away from Liu Ruyan's and turned my head to look out the window. With a somewhat cold attitude, not thinking about anything, Liu Ruyan looked at my indifferent cheek and felt a little uncomfortable. She suddenly recalled the old days when she had just married me. I was just over 20 back then, and I loved her very much at that time. Every evening when she came home from work, I would always rush downstairs to help her with her bag and happily tell her about the dinner menu. Before bed, I would prepare her bathwater, but gradually, I stopped smiling as much, and I no longer tried to please her. It seems I finally accepted the fact that she didn't love me, and gradually realized that no matter how much more I did, it was all useless in her eyes. In return was always coldness and indifference. I was still considerate, but this consideration was mostly the consideration of Mr. Liu for his wife, without love, but more of a formality. Just like the drunken confession I made, I actually stopped liking her a long time ago, thinking about these things. A bit more anger grew in Liu Ruyan's heart. Her gaze returned to the road ahead. She had no intention of talking to me anymore. The green light came on. The black Bentley slowly started moving. Under the neon lights, the car's body was luxurious and dazzling. My palm was pressed against the car window. I stared at the French restaurant on the side of the road. Stunned, it had actually closed down. It clearly just opened a few days ago. I was even playing the violin here. After that, I met Xia Jingyi and Liu Ruyan. I slowly turned my head and stared at Liu Ruyan's cheek. I finally understood why Liu Ruyan insisted on seeing me off. I spoke softly. Liu Ruyan, is this what you wanted me to see? Liu Ruyan focused on driving and ignored me until we were downstairs from where I live. The car stopped. She then leaned over to look at me and said, Do you know who owns that restaurant? I had guessed, but I didn't say anything. Liu Ruyan snorted lightly. I don't know what Xia Jingyi's intentions are in helping you, Mr. Lin. Don't forget you are still a married man. I smiled faintly. Liu Ruyan's thoughts were not hard to guess. She didn't hide them either. It was just a woman's possessiveness, the husband she doesn't like. She doesn't want another woman to get involved with either, not even in imagination. I didn't want to be soft on Liu Ruyan, but I also didn't want to involve Xia Jingyi. After some consideration, I spoke up. Our marriage has nothing to do with her. Liu Ruyan, don't go after her. Liu Ruyan stared into my eyes for a long time. She raised her hand and gently touched my face. I believe you, Mr. Lin. Her attitude was a bit playful. I found it unbearable. I turned my face away. I'm not. Liu Ruyan stared at me for a few seconds. She withdrew her hand and sat up straight with a serious tone I had never heard before. She asked me, Lin Feng, if you could choose again, would you marry Xia Jingyi or me? I was a bit stunned. I didn't expect Liu Ruyan to ask that, but clearly, Liu Ruyan didn't want to hear my answer. She gently opened the car door for me. Get out. As soon as I got out of the car, Liu Ruyan stepped on the gas. The black Bentley quickly sped away into the dark night, disappearing from my sight. I stood in the darkness. The night was as cold as water. I wrapped my clothes tightly around me, thinking about Liu Ruyan's earlier question. Liu Ruyan asked me how I would choose if I could do it over. I smiled faintly. When you're young, you always choose the one you love, even if it's like a moth to a flame, enduring all kinds of suffering. Now, if I were given another chance to choose, I think I would probably choose the one who loves me. It's just that life doesn't have that many what-ifs. I went upstairs, but Auntie Sue wasn't home. I called to ask. Auntie Nu hadn't called Liu Ruyan's villa at all. I put the phone down. I figured the maid at the villa must have lied to help me get away. I didn't think much of it. Tonight was a rare night off from work. I went to my room and slept very early. In the night, I had a dream. I dreamt of my newlywed life with Liu Ruyan again. In the dream, Liu Ruyan still treated me extremely coldly. She always spoke to me with impatience. I woke up because my phone was ringing. I opened it to look. It was another green bubble message from Liu Ruyan. Just a few simple words. Don't forget to visit Grandma tomorrow. I'll wait for you at the Huangting Hotel after work. How could I forget? Thinking of Feng Yuan's fireworks display, I directly accepted the money transfer and donated it to a stray animal shelter. On the other end, Liu Ruyan scrolled through her phone. I had accepted the 20,000 yuan transfer. She thought I would at least reply with something. I used to especially love sending her green bubble messages, with nothing particularly important to say, just liking to send meaningless words. Liu Ruyan never replied. Thinking back, it seems that ever since my family had problems, I stopped sending her messages like that. I also stopped asking her if she liked me. Actually, it had been a very long time. It's just that she didn't pay attention to me, so she didn't notice. For the first time, Liu Ruyan sat alone in her car thinking about me, thinking about our marriage. Early in the morning, I went to the hospital. I bought some fruit. Auntie Sue was very happy inside, but she pretended to scold me for spending money carelessly. We still haven't finished what you bought a few days ago. Why did you buy more? Lin Bachin was in good spirits again. He was half leaning on the headboard. You should have some too. The kid cares about you too. This sentence made Su Rao's eyes redden. After talking for a while, she called me outside under some pretext to talk to me yesterday. The hospital suddenly transferred Xia Jingyi to study elsewhere, saying it would be a while before she could return. Lin Feng, tell me the truth. Was this Liu Ruyan's doing? Is there something going on between you and Dr. Xia? I was stunned for a moment, remembering what Liu Ruyan deliberately showed me last night. I guessed this was a warning, another one that Liu Ruyan gave me. My heart turned cold. Now I finally felt Liu Ruyan's possessiveness. This possessiveness wasn't towards me, Lin Feng, but more towards the title of Mr. Lin. I was afraid of worrying Xuru, so I said softly, Auntie Xu, don't worry, I know my limits. I grew up with Shuru since I was a child. Shuru naturally knew my character, so she didn't say much at this time. Shuru went into the hospital room first. I stood in the hallway. I looked down at my phone. I wanted to apologize to Xia Jingyi, but I hesitated for a long time, and in the end, I didn't make that call. Perhaps not bothering them is the best way for an adult to protect someone. I was at the hospital all morning after having lunch. I was planning to go buy some violin strings. Just as I reached the bus stop, a black Land Rover suddenly stopped beside me. The car window rolled down, revealing a beautiful face. It was Li Yao again. Seeing me again, Li Yao's heart was filled with a new level of complexity. Before, she didn't think much of me. She thought I would cling to Liu Ruyan to death and never let go, but she never expected that I would actually dare to ask Liu Ruyan for a divorce. Moreover, the way I dressed was also different from before. I had shed the Mr. Lin look, the white shirt, black trousers with a black wool vest over it, natural and unrestrained. Li Yao just stared at me like that. I don't know why, she blurted out. Where are you going? I'll give you a ride. I was quite surprised. Because of Li Yao Feng, Li Yao had never been friendly to me. The night before last, she even picked a fight with me, for her to offer me a ride now. I instinctively felt she had bad intentions. I took a step back, my attitude a bit cold. Li Yao, you said you wouldn't bother me anymore. Li Yao looked at me for a long time. She softly uttered a few words. I did say that. After saying that, she drove away, the tail of the black Land Rover leaving 2 puffs of black smoke. I thought that was the end of the matter with Li Yao, but I didn't expect that night at Huangting I would see her again on the 56th floor. She was still playing cards with Su Lingyan and the others, but there were no starlets or models by her side. When I went on stage, Li Yao looked up. This small, unintentional action was caught by Su Lingyan. Su Lingyan glanced at me on the stage and casually played a pair of 2s. Li Yao, you rarely come to my place. What's up today? What wind blew you here? Li Yao's voice was flat, not welcome. Su Lingyan chuckled. Why would you say that? I only wish Xiao Li would come here every day to spend money for me. Hearing that, Li Yao just curled her lips slightly as they were talking. Liu Ruyan arrived. Liu Ruyan probably came from home, still in a long black dress, a figure with golden proportions, an exquisite face. She easily captured everyone's attention the moment she walked in. Su Lingyan looked at Li Yao. Li Yao shifted her posture, her expression a little more indifferent than before. Su Lingyan smirked to herself. Liu Ruyan is here too. What's this? Came to pick up Lin Feng from work? In response to her teasing, Liu Ruyan paid it no mind. She sat down opposite Su Lingyun, picked up a glass of wine and took a small sip, and said softly, "Later, I'm taking Lin Feng back to the old house for a night. Grandma misses him very much." Su Lingyun laughed again. "This is going to be good," she lowered her voice. "But can you even get Lin Feng to go with you now? I heard from Zhou, that you two are getting a divorce. Lin Feng's divorce papers have already been sent to your company, right? A private matter between husband and wife." Liu Ruyan had no interest in sharing. Just then, she suddenly noticed Li Yao was also here. Although her expression seemed indifferent, a woman's intuition is sometimes very accurate, especially when the man in question is her husband. The radar is incredibly precise. Dio is here for me. Liu Ruyan's dark eyes were deep, looking towards me on the stage. She watched silently for a long time before retracting her gaze and said casually, "Let's play cards. Same old rules. 10 million a game." Su Lingyun agreed. "All right, 10 million a game." Dio didn't say anything and started shuffling the cards. At 10 o'clock, I finished work early. As I stepped off the stage, Liu Ruyan immediately placed the cards in her hand on the coffee table and stood up. "I'm leaving first." Su Lingyun watched the direction Liu Ruyan left and smiled meaningfully, then turned and said casually, "Li Yao, stop looking. They've been married for 3 years. Hey, I'm not one to talk, but you sure change your tune fast. The other day you were giving him a hard time. How come you like him now? Did you take the wrong medicine? Or are you under a spell?" Li Yao cursed at Su Lingyun. "You're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about." Su Lingyun pointed to her heart. "There's something wrong with this part of you. Don't you forget whose husband he is." I was alone in the dressing room. I took off the suit I was wearing, leaving my upper body bare. With a creak, the door was opened. Outside the door was Liu Ruyan again. She stared at me, then reached around and slowly closed the dressing room door. "Liu Ruyan, this is the men's dressing room." Liu Ruyan acted as if she didn't hear. She walked towards me. Late at night, a black Bentley drove into the Liu family residence. When the car stopped, Liu Ruyan said casually, "Change your job. He'll arrange it for you." Her attitude was ambiguous, and I couldn't be bothered to guess. My hand gripped the car door handle, and I said softly, "Liu Ruyan, I don't know what you're thinking, but I think this job is quite good, and I don't need you to arrange anything. The whole reason I started working was to get away from you. If I accept your arrangement, then what's the point of everything I've done?" Liu Ruyan asked Lin Feng in a low voice. "Is it that you no longer want anything I give you? Do you really hate me that much? If it's not hate, then what is it?" Liu Ruyan pressed, but the conversation couldn't continue. The car door was suddenly opened. The maid outside the car saw our hands clasped together and smiled brightly. The old madam heard the commotion and knew that the young mistress had brought the young master home. "She specifically told me to come out and greet you." I knew she had misunderstood and wanted to pull my hand away, but not only did Liu Ruyan not let go of my hand, she even clung to my arm, putting on the appearance of a loving couple. The Liu family residence was brightly lit. Maids bustled back and forth. All sorts of nourishing dishes were served, filling the large dining table. Old Madame Liu personally supervised everyone's meal. She was afraid I wouldn't have enough energy at night, and specially had the kitchen stew, a live soft-shelled turtle to nourish me, and also prepared for me. A full bowl of yin, nourishing, essence-producing, and thoughtfully handed it to me. The old madam smiled, her eyes crinkling. "I've calculated the days. Tonight will definitely result in a pregnancy." Liu Ruyan glanced at me and coaxed the old madam without batting an eyelid. "Then Lin Feng will have to work a little harder later, so you can hold your great-grandchild soon." The old madam couldn't stop smiling, as if a fair, chubby great-grandchild was already waving at her. She ladled another bowl of turtle soup for me. "This soup has been simmering for several hours. Drink it while it's hot. A man will have strength after drinking this." Liu Ruyan's expression didn't change. I found her to be especially good at pretending and very good at deceiving. Married for 3 years, she always told me to remind her to take her medicine. She fundamentally didn't want children, but in front of the old madam, she pretended to cooperate. Sensing my gaze, Liu Ruyan looked at me. Immediately after, she wiped her lips with a napkin. "Grandma, it's getting late. Lin Feng and I are going upstairs to sleep now." The old madam urged her, "Go on, go on." After saying that, she went to light some incense. While offering incense to the ancestors, she muttered, complaining that Liu Ruyan's mother didn't care about the Liu family's lineage, knowing full well her daughter and son-in-law were back. Yet she went to bed early, how improper, in the bedroom. "All right, I've finished acting out the play with you. Can you let me go now?" Liu Ruyan hugged my arm and tightened her grip. "You've had the nourishing soup. It's been a long time since we've..." "Lin Feng, I don't believe you don't want to." When we were alone, the woman finally revealed her true colors. Her claim that Grandma wanted to see me was probably just an excuse. In reality, she just wanted to trick me into coming back. I couldn't help but feel both angry and annoyed. Liu Ruyan held my hand. I said, "Look, Liu Ruyan, do you really want it that badly? You could actually go find Fang Yuan to take care of it. I really wouldn't mind. Besides, we're about to get a divorce anyway." The next second, Liu Ruyan let go of me. She took a step back, looking at my uncaring expression. "It's true. You don't care. If a man cares about his wife, he could never say such words." Liu Ruyan had never with Fang Yuan had any physical desire. She was angry right now and didn't want to explain to me. Her voice carried a sarcastic tone. Lin Feng, you're so generous now. After saying that, she went to take a cold shower by herself. 10 minutes later, Liu Ruyan came out of the bathroom. She saw me spreading a thin blanket on the sofa, clearly intending to spend the night there. She couldn't help but feel angry. The anger she had just suppressed flared up again. Just as she was about to lose her temper, my phone buzzed. There was a WeChat message. Liu Ruyan frowned slightly. It's so late. Who's texting you? My tone wasn't good. You don't need to worry about it. Liu Ruyan let out a cold laugh and snatched my phone. She stared at the WeChat message, her face as dark as water. It was from Xia Jingyi. There was no text, just a photo of a night scene. This message didn't seem overtly ambiguous, but we were all adults. How could we not understand this little thing? Only when you admire a man, would you be unable to resist sharing with him late at night? Liu Ruyan stared for a long time. It's this late and she's still texting you. Tell me, how far have you two gone? Liu Ruyan was furious and was about to erupt again when the phone rang. She angrily picked up the phone and glanced at it. It was Secretary Qin calling. After a moment's thought, Liu Ruyan still answered the phone, but her tone wasn't very good. What is it this late? On the other end of the line, Secretary Qin's anxious voice said, "Xiao Liu, Fang Yuan has arrived in City B." Liu Ruyan frowned slightly. She glanced at me, then stood up and went outside to take the call, but I still heard what Secretary Qin just said. Fang Yuan was back in City B. Liu Ruyan was finally letting her lover make a grand entrance. This was, for me, the nominal Mr. Lin, actually a great humiliation. About 2 minutes later, Liu Ruyan walked in from outside, her expression a little tense. Fang Yuan's return to City B was a big affair. He was surrounded by reporters at the airport and accidentally fell, breaking his leg again. And Fang Yuan's parents announced to the reporters that the Fang family were in-laws of the Liu group. This was definitely a huge scandal. Liu Ruyan had to go handle it personally and deal with Fang Yuan at the same time. Then she turned to look at me, her tone indifferent. Something urgent came up that needs to be handled. You go to sleep first. I'll be back tomorrow morning to take you. I turned my back to her without saying a word. As Liu Ruyan grabbed her coat, she glanced at me again, before leaving in a hurry. A moment later, the sound of a car starting echoed in the yard. I knew she wouldn't be back tonight. I couldn't help but remember the past. Every time Liu Ruyan went to City H to visit Fang Yuan, I would care a great deal and even stay up all night, unable to sleep. But now I found that I no longer cared. Her coldness, her awfulness, all the bad things she did to me, I no longer cared about any of it. Not loving Liu Ruyan really was a huge relief. Just as the sky was turning light, VP Ward of Tongshan Hospital, Fang Yuan, wearing a blue and white patient gown, leaned against the headboard. He looked into Liu Ruyan's eyes, full of adoration. Liu Ruyan leaned against the sofa, scrolling through her phone. She was checking if I had sent her a WeChat message. After waiting for a long time, there was nothing. Just then, Secretary Qin pushed the door open and entered. He walked over to Liu Ruyan's side and whispered softly, "The media side has all been taken care of. CEO Liu, rest assured, not a single word of what shouldn't be written will be leaked." Liu Ruyan glanced at him and put her phone away. She was about to speak when Fang Yuan, on the hospital bed, looked at her expression and carefully began, "I'm sorry. Miss Liu, my father thought we were dating. He thought we were going to get married. That's why he said that." Before Liu Ruyan could speak, Secretary Qin couldn't help but say, "Mr. Fang, you seem to have forgotten that CEO Liu is already married. From what point did you get the idea that CEO Liu is dating you? And from what point did you think CEO Liu would marry you?" Actually, Secretary Qin was usually quite nice to Fang Yuan. He liked using Fang Yuan to provoke me, but when Fang Yuan shamelessly tested Liu Ruyan's attitude, Secretary Qin couldn't stand it anymore. He couldn't tolerate such a low-class man coveting Liu Ruyan in his heart. He was clearly agitated. Liu Ruyan shot him a glance. Secretary Qin remembered her previous warning and hastily shut his mouth, taking a step back. Fang Yuan was very good at reading people's expressions. His lips trembled, with a look as if he were about to cry. "Secretary Qin, you've misunderstood me. I never thought I was dating Miss Liu. I know Miss Liu has a husband. She's nice to me, only because I accidentally woke her up that year. Really? I just want to heal my leg. I'm only thinking about being able to study with Master Wei. I really don't dare to think about other things. Secretary Qin, you won't stop me, will you?" Secretary Qin was about to die of anger. Now he finally knew how formidable Fang Yuan was. Every sentence was innocent. Every sentence was aimed at him. Secretary Qin looked towards Liu Ruyan, wanting to know her thoughts. In the middle of the night, Liu Ruyan was already in a bad mood, and the Fang family had caused such a big mess. Naturally, she wouldn't have a good expression. She looked at Fang Yuan's bland face, her tone very flat. "Before these two matters are over, please tell your parents to watch their mouths. What should be said and what shouldn't be said, they should know their limits." Fang Yuan clenched his fists, but his face still wore a smiling expression. "I understand, Miss Liu." Liu Ruyan stood up to leave. Outside the door, the Fang parents put on an honest appearance, wanted to strike up a conversation when they saw Liu Ruyan come out. But before they could even open their mouths, Liu Ruyan had already stepped into the elevator. Secretary Qin glared at them and then followed her in. Only Liu Ruyan and Secretary Qin were in the elevator. The red numbers on the LCD screen continuously descended. Liu Ruyan suddenly asked, "Why did you arrange for Feng Yuan to be at Tongshan Hospital? I remember Lin Feng's father is also being treated at this hospital." Secretary Qin's heart tightened. He immediately explained, "Xiao Liu, this really wasn't my idea. When I arrived at the airport, the ambulance had already taken Feng Yuan to the hospital. Feng Yuan's surgery tomorrow. Will Xiao Liu be visiting?" Just as he finished speaking, the elevator doors opened. Liu Ruyan walked out first, leaving only one sentence behind, "I'm not a doctor." Secretary Qin followed behind. Liu Ruyan got into the car. The window of the black Bentley rolled down. She tilted her head slightly and said to Secretary Qin, "When Master Wei arrives in City B, arrange a meeting." Secretary Qin knew she wanted to introduce Feng Yuan. Secretary Qin couldn't help but add, "Xiao Liu, I heard that Master Wei already has a student he likes. I'm afraid this might not work out." Liu Ruyan lowered her head, scrolling through her phone. Hearing this, she seemed a bit distracted. "Who is it that Master Wei thinks so highly of?" Secretary Qin gave a forced smile. "I don't know the specifics, but Master Wei has publicly expressed his admiration for this violinist. He frankly said he would nurture him well." Liu Ruyan looked up at her secretary for a long time. Her voice was indifferent. "Then let's test Master Wei's generosity." At 7:30, Liu Ruyan returned to the Liu family villa. The luxurious dining room was filled with the aroma of breakfast. Madame Liu was dressed in elegant clothes, sitting at the dining table directing the maids. The corner of her eye caught her daughter about to go upstairs, and she called out to her, saying in a flat voice, "He's gone." Liu Ruyan's steps paused. She turned and walked to the dining table to sit down. A maid attentively spread a napkin for her. Seeing her daughter had no intention of speaking, Madame Liu became angry for no reason. "I heard that last night, in the middle of your sleep, you went out to handle Feng Yuan's matter. Liu Ruyan, I don't really want to meddle in your private affairs, but now there are rumors everywhere outside that you and Lin Feng are getting a divorce." She paused for a moment. No matter how bad Lin Feng is, he's much better than Feng Yuan. Liu Ruyan took a sip of black coffee and said to the maid, "Next time, remember not to add milk powder." The maid hurriedly agreed. Only then did Liu Ruyan look at her mother, her tone indifferent. "I'm not preparing for a divorce. Also, I have no such intentions towards Feng Yuan, but he does." Mentioning Feng Yuan, Madame Lia's face was full of contempt. "He's a crow trying to become a phoenix." Liu Ruyan didn't reply. Madame Liu didn't want the relationship with her daughter to be too tense. She picked up an invitation card and gently pushed it across the table towards Liu Ruyan. "Mrs. Li is having a party on Thursday. No matter what, you have to take him there and show some affection. Dispel the divorce rumors." Mrs. Li. Liu Ruyan took it and looked. It was indeed the wife of Xiao Li from the Exuri group. Recently, Xiao Li has a project that Liu Ruyan is bidding for. She estimates she has a 50% chance. At this critical juncture, this party seemed particularly important. Liu Ruyan said without thinking, "You'll take Secretary Qin. There's a project recently. It would be useful to take him. Besides, Liu Ruyan didn't want me involved in business matters." Madame Liu strongly disagreed. No matter how capable Secretary Qin is, he's still just a secretary. What woman attends a party with her secretary? But Liu Ruyan had already made up her mind. She was determined to get that project. First floor parking lot of the Liu group. Liu Ruyan turned off the car engine. She sat in the car and thought for a moment and still decided to call me. I rejected the call. Liu Ruyan didn't call again. She leaned back against the seat, thinking I must be angry. She then wondered if I was angry because of her roughness last night or because she left in the middle of the night. I probably heard what Secretary Qin said on the phone. Liu Ruyan held her phone in one hand, wondering if she should send me a WeChat message, perhaps to coax me. But this thought only lasted for a few seconds before she gave up on it. Things that only loving couples do didn't suit her and me. She had never loved me, not in the past, not now, and not in the future. Just as she put her phone away, Secretary Qin came to open the car door for her. Having not slept all night, Secretary Qin was in high spirits. He had always been a very diligent worker. Liu Ruyan had always appreciated this about him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have kept him by her side after he had crossed the line. Stepping into the elevator, Secretary Qin began to report the schedule. Liu Ruyan suddenly interrupted him. She said nonchalantly, "Clear Thursday evening, the wife of Xiao Li from Shuri Group is having a party. You will attend it with me then. The company will cover the cost of your attire. How important the Shuri Group project is, you should know very well. Don't mess things up." A long while after she finished speaking, Secretary Qin finally came to his senses. He couldn't believe it. "President Liu, you want me to attend Mrs. Li's party with you? Is there a problem?" "No, not at all." Secretary Qin hurriedly denied it, trying to speak in a professional tone. "Rest assured, President Liu, I will definitely perform well that day, score points for you, President Liu, and help you win that project." Liu Ruyan remained expressionless. She stepped out of the elevator. Inside the elevator, Secretary Qin looked in the elevator mirror to fix his appearance. He couldn't help but think, a high-class party like Mrs. Li's should have originally been for Mr. Liu. but President Liu is taking me instead. Doesn't that prove that I'm more important in her heart? It seems she still thinks highly of me. In President Liu's heart, this Mr. Liu is still a good-for-nothing. For this party, Secretary Qin put in a lot of thought. After several days of searching, he finally chose a formal suit from an Italian brand. He admired himself in the mirror for a long time. Secretary Qin gently stroked the suit and smiled. "I'll take this one." The price was 78,000, and he swiped his card without hesitation. The store manager said attentively, "We will keep this formal suit carefully for you, Mr. Qin. You can come and pick it up before attending the party." Secretary Qin nodded. Just as he was about to leave, his phone rang. It was Liu Ruyan calling. Liu Ruyan instructed him in a very flat tone. "Mrs. Li wants to invite me over to help in advance. I've introduced you to her. Write down the address and you contact Mrs. Li." Secretary Qin was stunned. Immediately after, his heart pounded. In that moment, he felt that he was the real Mr. Liu. On the other end, Liu Ruyan hung up the phone. She carried her golf club and was about to walk towards the crowd ahead when a rather flat voice sounded from behind her. "Liu Ruyan! Liu Ruyan!" She turned around and saw Li Yao. Li Yao had clearly overheard Liu Ruyan's phone call. She jutted her chin towards Xiao Li in front of them. Why not let Lin Feng go over? Can't bear to let others see him? Her words were a bit provocative. Liu Ruyan smirked and motioned for the caddy to place the ball. Immediately after, she bent over slightly and swung her club. Seeing where the ball landed, she walked in that direction, speaking slowly as she walked. "Since when did you understand me so well? A husband at home should be watched over carefully to prevent him from getting noticed when he's out. Li Yao, don't you think so?" Li Yao's expression wasn't very good. A moment later, a cold smile formed on her lips. But sometimes, no matter how carefully you watch, it might not work. Isn't there a saying that love is like sand in your palm? The tighter you try to hold it, the faster it slips away. Under the sunset, the lawn was lush and green. Liu Ruyan was wearing a white sportswear set, looking handsome and full of life. She lowered her head and swung the club, sinking the ball in 2 strokes. Liu Ruyan had no intention of playing anymore. She handed the club to the caddy and took a towel with her other hand. She smiled at Li Yao. "Li Yao, from childhood until now, I have never let go of anything I wanted. Besides, you know my temperament. She wouldn't turn on Li Yao for my sake. Although I am her husband, my status in her heart hasn't reached that level yet." Saying that much was enough. Liu Ruyan walked 1 step ahead. Li Yao remained standing in the same spot, her expression a little indifferent. She didn't know what was wrong with her either. Clearly, she used to dislike me a lot, but now she longed for Liu Ruyan to let go, longed for them to divorce. Wouldn't that give her a chance? Liu Ruyan didn't expect Secretary Qin to mess things up. On Wednesday afternoon, Secretary Qin went to Mrs. Li's villa to help, but in less than 2 hours he was kicked out by Mrs. Li. Liu Ruyan's status in the business world is transcendent, as the saying goes. You have to respect the master before you beat the dog. It was clear how angry Mrs. Li was. Secretary Qin felt very wronged. Not only did Mrs. Li scold him, she also told him to pass on a message inviting me over. Secretary Qin looked at Liu Ruyan's expression and said in a low voice, "President Liu, I think this deal is probably off. Mr. Li must already have his own person in mind, otherwise his wife wouldn't disrespect you like this." Liu Ruyan closed the file folder. "What did Mrs. Li ask you to help with?" Secretary Qin recounted everything, and then he said, "President Liu, I really did a great job, but Mrs. Li kept insisting on having Mr. Lin come to tomorrow's party. He had his own selfish motives, hoping that he would still be the one attending the party tomorrow." Liu Ruyan listened in silence and immediately made a decision. "For tomorrow's party, I will take Lin Feng with me." Secretary Qin's mood plummeted. His lips trembled, and he couldn't help but put me down. But he doesn't understand anything about that project, and he doesn't understand business matters either. Liu Ruyan leaned back in her chair. She stared at her subordinate, her tone very flat. "But I understand, Mrs. Li, and you too, Secretary Qin. This decision is an announcement, not a negotiation with you." Secretary Qin left. Liu Ruyan called me. Probably out of spite, I still refused to answer her calls. Liu Ruyan called several times, and I hung up on her every time. Such a temper. Liu Ruyan thought for a moment and sent me a WeChat message. "Don't you need money? Come to the party with me, and I'll give you 200,000. How about it?" This figure of 200,000, she didn't believe I wouldn't be moved. But Liu Ruyan was wrong. After sending the message, she waited for half an hour, but still didn't get a reply from me. Liu Ruyan frowned slightly. Then she transferred 200,000 directly to me. When I received the money transfer from Liu Ruyan, I was having coffee with Zhou Ye. Zhou Ye had some news about Meng Yanhui and had specifically called me out to talk. Zhou Ye told me the news he had gathered. Meng Yanhui is in some primitive tribe in Africa, supposedly doing pro bono legal work. He's completely out of contact right now. According to his assistant, he won't be back for another year or 2. I'm telling you, Lin Feng, these successful lawyers, why do they see through the mortal world like this? The big city is full of money. Are they done earning it? After saying that, he took a big gulp of coffee and frowned. He was least used to drinking this pretentious stuff. I lowered my head and gently stirred the coffee in my cup. Zhou Yi was afraid I couldn't take it and comforted me in a soft voice. Well, ask around some more. I don't believe anyone other than him can't do it. I nodded and was about to say something when I received a 200,000 transfer on WeChat. I was a little stunned. Zhou Yi saw my expression and couldn't help but lean over to look. Who sent the message? You look like you've seen a ghost. Is it that bitch Liu Ruyan? She transferred 200,000. What does that mean? Does she want you to sleep with her? Lin Feng, I told you this woman is no good. I didn't accept it. I put my phone away. Zhou Yi said again with excitement. Actually, we can accept it first. It's 200,000 after all. I smiled bitterly. Liu Ruyan's money isn't that easy to take. Zhou Yi couldn't help but curse a few more times. He had a schedule, so he said goodbye to me first. As he left, the coffee that tasted like horse piss, he didn't waste a single drop. It must be a habit from childhood. Zhou Yi left, and I prepared to leave too. But just as I stood up, my phone rang. I thought it was from Liu Ruyan, but it turned out to be a message from Master Wei. Coming to City B next Saturday, hope to meet. I smiled involuntarily and replied to the message. Only then did I pack my things and go to work at the Royal Court Hotel. It was already 11 p.m. when I got off work. The late autumn night carried a slight chill. I pulled my thin jacket tighter around me. After a few steps, I stopped. A luxurious black Bentley was parked on the side of the road. Liu Ruyan was sitting inside. She probably felt my gaze and looked in this direction. Under the bright neon lights, we looked at each other in silence, like people reunited after a long separation. Let's talk in the car. I knew she needed a favor from me. I walked in this direction. Under her gaze, I got into the car. Are you hungry? Let's go get something to eat. She was unusually gentle tonight. I wouldn't think that she had changed her personality or had fallen for me. I looked towards the front of the car, my tone indifferent. If you have something to say it in the car. Mrs. Li likes you a lot. She hopes that for tomorrow night's party arrangements you can help advise her a little. I was silent for a long time. Liu Ruyan tilted her head to look at me. What? You don't want to? I smiled faintly. Liu Ruyan, your first choice wasn't me, was it? Because Secretary Qin couldn't handle it, you were willing to spend a large sum of money to invite me, right? Liu Ruyan was surprised by my perceptiveness. She also thought I would be sulky, but my tone was even more indifferent. I said directly, the jury group project is worth tens of billions, 200,000 is too little, I want 2 million. Liu Ruyan frowned slightly. It wasn't that she couldn't afford this amount, nor was it that she was stingy with money for men, but she is a businesswoman. Business people are used to maximizing benefits, even if the person in front of them is their husband. Liu Ruyan scoffed. You've got a big appetite, aren't you afraid of choking on it? I gave a cold laugh. Whether I can handle it is my own ability. 2 million, not a penny less. I will help President Liu settle this matter. Liu Ruyan narrowed her eyes. What if you don't win the project? My smile faded. Then it proves that President Liu isn't capable enough. No one had ever provoked her so blatantly. Never. Liu Ruyan found it interesting. She gently leaned into my ear and whispered, It seems I must win this project then. Otherwise, my Mr. Lin will also think I'm incapable. As she got closer, her purely feminine breath brushed against my ear, causing I pushed her away. Weren't we just talking? I still feel disgusted about that night. An unfaithful wife always makes one associate her with other people. Just thinking about it is repulsive. As I got out of the car, I said indifferently, I will contact Mrs. Li tomorrow morning, but the precondition is that the 2 million must be transferred to my account. Liu Ruyan stared at me. After a moment, she said, I can write you a check right now. I looked at her too. Liu Ruyan scoffed. What, you don't trust me? I turned my face away, looking into the pitch-black night in front of the car, and said calmly, Being with someone like you for a long time, even a fool learns to be smart. Even though we are about to part, I always regret giving myself to the wrong person for the first time. Liu Ruyan wrote me a check. As she placed it in my palm, she silently began to speak about Fang Yuan. This was the first time she had spoken to me about Fang Yuan. She didn't know if this could be considered an explanation. Suddenly hearing that name, I was stunned for a moment. Immediately after, I said in an indifferent tone, I know he's come to City B and is in the same hospital as my father. Next, Liu Ruyan, you're going to help him fix his leg. You also want to introduce Master Wei to him, to fulfill his dream. Liu Ruyan stared into my eyes, as if wanting to know my true thoughts. My tone became even more indifferent. Everyone on the internet knows about these things. There's no need to go out of your way to find out. After speaking, I opened the car door. A cold wind blew in from outside, and I coughed twice. But I didn't look back. I walked forward, resolutely leaving Liu Ruyan, and walked faster and faster. When I got home, that check was clenched tightly in my hand, the flesh of my palm aching from the grip. I looked at that 2 million, and my heart was flooded with emotion. This was the first time I had scraped a piece of flesh off Liu Ruyan. Sadly, it was still under the title of Mr. Lin that I earned this money. But I think I will succeed eventually. When others mention me, they will all say this is Mr. Lin. The next morning, Liu Ruyan's driver came to pick me up. To play this role well, I changed into the clothes of the old Mr. Lin, so noble. Mrs. Li liked me very much. Mrs. Lee pulled me aside and chatted intimately for a long time, finally complaining in a soft voice. My Mr. Lee is so inefficient. I told him several times that I wanted to invite you over, but Liu Ruyan's secretary was so clueless. Mrs. Lee whispered, "Didn't I help you vent your anger?" Secretary Qin doesn't come from a good background. Being an assistant is enough for him, but when it comes to social etiquette, being a young master, you're far superior to him. I smiled faintly. Thank you for the compliment, Mrs. Lee. Mrs. Lee gently patted my hand, her smile as bright as a flower. Then let's go see the venue first. Well, look and work as we go. I smiled and agreed. Mrs. Lee led me, and just as we entered the main hall, someone came down from the second floor. Seeing that person clearly, I froze. It was Li Yao again. Seeing me, Li Yao wasn't surprised at all. She looked down at me for a few seconds, then leisurely walked downstairs, came to my side and said faintly, as if complimenting me, "Those are handsome clothes, but the way you dressed at the hospital that day suited you a bit more. I'm a grown man now." Li Yao's cryptic words, along with her daily visits to the Royal Court Hotel. No matter how slow I was, I could sense something, but I could only pretend to be clueless. Li Yao was not someone I could mess with. Mrs. Lee didn't notice anything unusual. On the contrary, she even smiled and introduced, Lin Feng. This is a distant cousin of my Mr. Lee. She's been a loafer since she was a child. She often comes here to hang out. I smiled lightly. We know each other. Mrs. Lee patted my shoulder. I forgot, Li Yao and Liu Ruyan have been close friends since childhood. You two talk first. I'm going to get a pair of glasses. The maid is always so forgetful. After speaking, Mrs. Lee went ahead. After she left, she looked at me. What? Preparing to go back to Liu Ruyan's side? To continue being the Liu family's husband? I frowned slightly. I don't need to report this to you, do I? Li Yao looked at me and said nothing for a long time, then just walked away. I breathed a sigh of relief. Every encounter with Li Yao was difficult because her temper was erratic. Just then, Mrs. Lee came downstairs. She didn't see anything. I helped her arrange things inside and out and was busy until 4 p.m. Just as I finished, I received a call from Liu Ruyan. I'm waiting in the parking lot to take you to change into your formal wear. I was still hesitating when Mrs. Lee overheard and said with a smile, Liu Ruyan is here to pick you up. Hurry up and go. I couldn't say anything more. I could only go with Mrs. Lee to the parking lot outside. I saw Liu Ruyan's black Bentley at a glance. The car window was halfway down. Liu Ruyan was wearing a long black dress, elegant and luxurious. As I walked over, she didn't get out of the car, but gently opened the passenger door for me. Mrs. Lee couldn't help but tease a few words. Liu Ruyan nodded haughtily. She drove me away. When we stopped at a red light at an intersection, she leaned over to look at me and asked softly, "How are things with Mrs. Lee? How did Secretary Qin offend her?" I looked at the clouds in the sky, my gaze indifferent. Secretary Qin hung a Monet painting in the main hall on his own initiative, but he didn't know that Mr. Lee used to have a bad lifestyle, and his mistress' favorite was Monet's paintings. He had crossed Mrs. Lee's taboo. For the tea break table, he used a high-leg table, but the ladies all use low-leg tables for tea. High-leg tables are for the servants to rest. Also, Mr. Lee's child is allergic to red beans, yet he told the master chef from Hong Kong that Mrs. Lee had spent a lot of money to hire to put red beans in all the desserts, because you, Liu Ruyan, like to eat them. He wanted to show off too much, so he offended Mrs. Lee. Liu Ruyan stared at me for a long time. She let out a very soft laugh. Women really do care a lot about these things. After saying that, her voice suddenly deepened a little, even carrying a hint of gentleness. So, Lin Feng, when did you learn these skills? Was it when you were the Liu family's husband? These words were a bit flirtatious, the kind of words only spoken between a husband and wife. I wasn't in the mood for it. I turned my face to the car window and said flatly, "You learn these things by going to many places." Liu Ruyan wanted to say something else, but the traffic light ahead turned green, and the car behind was honking impatiently. Liu Ruyan had no choice but to gently press the accelerator and drive off. The most high-end styling salon in City B. Liu Ruyan brought me here. Her status is special, so the manager personally attended to us. The manager was very eloquent. Young Master Lin not only has very well cared for skin, but his figure is also excellent. Our shop just received a high-end suit, and young Master Lin is definitely the best person to wear it in all of City B. After saying that, he had someone bring it out. The suit was indeed very beautiful. Liu Ruyan tilted her head to look at me and said gently, "Go and try it on." I had been inside for less than 3 minutes when there were footsteps outside and the door opened. The person who came in was actually Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan locked the door and silently walked towards me. Truly handsome. She came forward and hugged me tightly. I really couldn't take it anymore. "What's wrong? Can't Feng Yuan satisfy you, making Xiao Liu so repressed?" Liu Ruyan didn't explain. She turned around herself and then pressed herself against me. Through the thin layers of fabric, I could naturally feel the change in her. She seemed very aroused. She and I have been husband and wife for several years, and although I've never compared, I can feel that Liu Ruyan is far beyond ordinary women. Rubbing against each other, if I said I didn't feel anything, that would be a lie. But I've always been repulsed by Liu Ruyan, so I found an excuse.
The dinner party starts at 7. You value that project so much, I'm sure you don't want to be late, right? Hearing that, Liu Ruyan loosened her grip on me a little. She looked at me in the mirror and sneered, "Young Master Lin, you really know how to be a buzzkill." But in the end, the danger was averted. On the way, neither of us said a word. At 7 p.m., Liu Ruyan's black Bentley slowly drove into the Li family villa. She got out of the car and opened the door for me. As I bent down to get out, my hand was taken by Liu Ruyan. I couldn't help but look up at her. Under the strong night wind and the magnificent lights, we looked at each other. Liu Ruyan gently squeezed. My hand pulled me towards her and whispered in my ear, "Tonight, stay close to me, and don't you dare flirt with other women." That statement was quite possessive. I leaned on her shoulder and saw Li Yao. Li Yao was standing under the lights at the villa's entrance, holding a glass of red wine, her gloomy eyes fixed on me. I didn't want to provoke her. My lips trembled, and I gently hugged Liu Ruyan. Li Yao's gaze hardened, and she turned and left. Liu Ruyan was no fool either. Her face gently pressed against my ear, her voice a bit hoarse. "You've learned how to use others." I turned my face away. "Liu Ruyan, don't forget your purpose tonight." Liu Ruyan's gaze was inscrutable. "Of course I haven't forgotten. Young Master Lin." After that, she took my arm like a loving married couple. I played along with her very well. We even danced together at the party, receiving round after round of applause. Mrs. Li even specifically took me to meet the top socialites. The title she gave me was the Young Master of the Liu Group and also an outstanding violinist. To boost my value, Mrs. Li boasted about things she didn't even know herself. I hear Master Wei is coming back soon. Everyone knows Master Wei has a favorite student, but I bet you all don't know, right? That person is none other than our very own young Master Lin Feng. I was a little stunned. Only Auntie Shu and I and Zhou Yi knew about this. So Mrs. Li was just. The others urged me to perform. One reason was to show respect to Mrs. Li, the other was to verify if it was true. I went on stage and spontaneously played a rendition of Massenet's Meditation. After the piece ended, no one doubted Mrs. Li's words anymore. Even Mrs. Li herself almost believed that I was the person Master Wei was looking for. I bowed my head in thanks and gently lifted my eyes, meeting Liu Ruyan's gaze. She was standing very casually, but in her eyes, there was a possessiveness and desire that only I could read. It had nothing to do with art, only the most primal desire of a woman for a man. I couldn't stand that look. I pretended to go to the restroom. Over there, Liu Ruyan's eyes were still following me. CEO Li next to her patted her shoulder and said with a laugh, "Young people are still so affectionate. It makes this old man truly envious." Liu Ruyan gave a faint smile and clinked glasses with him. Mrs. Li came over and thoughtfully helped Mr. Li adjust his attire. She stood beside her husband and talked to Liu Ruyan, showering me with praise, saying I was outstanding, handsome, and talented. Mr. Li gently patted the back of his wife's hand. "If you like him so much, adopt him as your godson. It's rare to see you get along with someone so well." Mrs. Li glanced at her husband. Although she was over 40, she still had her charm, a unique kind of beauty. Mrs. Li said petulantly, "I'm only 14 or 15 years older than Liu Ruyan. How could I adopt her husband as my godson? Besides, you should count the few coins in your pocket and see if you're even qualified. If you're really sincere, then just cooperate more with Liu Ruyan. That way, young Master Lin and I can be closer too." Mr. Li understood in his heart. "Let's talk about that project." He had other social engagements, so he left first. Liu Ruyan thanked Mrs. Li. Mrs. Li looked at her husband's back, her eyes moist. She turned her head to look at Liu Ruyan and said, "Ruyan, I'm sure you don't know, in the early years, old Lai was fooling around. He had a woman on the side and even intended to divorce me. At that time, in the upper-class circle, who would have respected me? Once, at a party, I met young Master Lin. He was only 15 or 16 at the time, but he was very good at cheering people up. He came with Lin Shui, wearing a very handsome formal suit, and danced a dance for me in a secluded spot. You don't know, I hadn't laughed like that in a very long time. My whole being was filled with despair back then." After speaking, Mrs. Li gave a faint smile. "I've made a fool of myself." When she left, her back was both lonely and proud. Even though her position as Mrs. Li was now as solid as a mountain, with her husband's respect, she herself understood that, for someone like her, every moment was like walking on thin ice. She knew I was in a tough spot, so she lent me a hand. Liu Ruyan was still standing in the same spot. She knew that with Mrs. Li's support, this project was already in the bag. But now, what she was thinking about wasn't the 100 billion project, but me. I said my life was suffocating, that I didn't want to be young Master Lin. Were my feelings similar to Mrs. Li's? Disappointed in one's spouse, and then falling out of love. The difference was, the Lai family was Mrs. Li's lifelong battlefield, while I didn't even want Liu Ruyan herself anymore. I came out of the restroom. It was already 9:30. I thought it was about time to leave. I had something on my mind, so I wasn't paying attention at the door, and almost bumped into someone. When I steadied myself, I realized it was none other than Li Yao.
We stood very close, so close I could smell the perfume on Li Yao, a faint scent of tangerine. I wanted to walk around her, but she pulled me back. I looked down, my eyes filled with some surprise and also shock. Li Yao quickly let go of me. As she pulled her hand back, she couldn't help but gently clench her fingers, feeling the lingering warmth. That was my body heat. But the words she spoke were cold and harsh. What? After suffering for a few days outside, you still feel it's more comfortable being young Master Lin? So you've decided to go back to Liu Ruyan's side? I stopped playing dumb. I got straight to the point and asked Li Yao back. You said you wouldn't make things difficult for me, so what is this now? I stopped there. As I left, Li Yao's voice sounded from behind me, very soft, very low. Lin Feng, whatever Liu Ruyan can give you, I can give you too. What she doesn't want to give you, I can also give you. My steps faltered. After a moment, I spoke softly. Thank you for your favor. But Li Yao, I don't want it. I left, leaving Li Yao standing alone. The crystal lights shone down, making her face pale. She felt she must have gone crazy to say such things to her best friend's husband, asking me to go with her. Li Yao also left afterwards. No one noticed Mrs. Li standing at the corner of the stairs. From beginning to end, Mrs. Li heard everything very clearly. She had to hold on to the railing to keep from fainting. Li Yao actually liked a married man, and that person was me. I came out of the restroom, my expression wasn't good. Liu Ruyan put down her wine glass and looked down at me. What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Let me have a word with Mr. Li. We'll go home first. I didn't refuse. Liu Ruyan sent in succession WeChat messages to Mr. and Mrs. Li and then took me away. Sitting in the car, she tilted her head to look at me, her face showing unprecedented tenderness. I suppose that project is secured. Young Master Lin, I should thank you. I never knew you were so talented before. I leaned against the leather seat. I had been busy all day, and now I was so tired I didn't want to lift a finger. After a while, I tilted my head to look at her, my voice faint. Actually, I was always like this. It's just that you, Liu Ruyan, never paid attention. 3 years of marriage, she mostly saw me in bed. The rest of the time, she was either working at the company or going to City H to see Fang Yuan. No matter how much affection I had, it all wore away. Now, with her sudden tenderness, I really couldn't bring myself to be moved. My quiet demeanor was very attractive. Liu Ruyan couldn't help but lift her head to kiss me, but I covered her lips with my hand. I looked down at her, still with a faint expression. Liu Ruyan, those 2 million don't include spending the night with you. I remember you've always kept business and personal matters separate. Liu Ruyan's heart softened. She kissed my palm, her voice hoarse. Then, like a small cat, she wrapped her arms tightly around my neck, not letting me leave. Seeing that I was ignoring her, Liu Ruyan didn't say anything more. She gently stepped on the gas and drove me away. This place was quite far from where I lived, about an hour's drive. I was too tired. Half an hour later, I leaned back in my seat and fell asleep again, unguarded. When I woke up, the car had stopped downstairs from my apartment. I was a little dazed, my voice hoarse. We're here already? Thanks for taking me home. You'll have the suit dry cleaned and return it to you. After I finished speaking, I wanted to get out of the car, but the next second, Liu Ruyan threw herself into my arms, reached out and pressed a button, and the seat reclined. I didn't dare to move recklessly, afraid she would lose control. Liu Ruyan kissed me gently, changing angles to kiss me. Her warm hands moved back and forth. Do you like it like this, Lin Feng? I didn't say anything. It was truly awkward. After a long time, it was finally over. This brief tenderness was only due to Liu Ruyan's dopamine kicking in. What are you thinking about? Liu Ruyan asked me. After not getting a response, her warm fingers found my lips. Can you go upstairs and cook me a bowl of noodles? I haven't eaten anything all evening. I refused. It's not convenient. Liu Ruyan gave me a kiss. 100,000 for a bowl, okay? Young Master Lin for the money. I gave in. Liu Ruyan gently opened the car door for me. As I got out, she suddenly grabbed my hand. I turned to look at her. Liu Ruyan's eyes were gentle, her voice a bit hoarse. She said, "The suit is very beautiful." This was probably the warmest moment in our 3 years of marriage. I was a little moved, but in the end I just gave a slight smile. Thanks. The two of them went upstairs, one after the other. The old facilities made Liu Ruyan frown. Luckily, the broken light bulb in the hallway had been fixed. Behind them, a silver car stopped in the night. Qin sat in the car silently, looking in the direction we had disappeared, and he was wearing the black formal suit that he should have worn to attend the party. He had followed us from the Li family's house. He saw Liu Ruyan bring me out. He had never seen Liu Ruyan with such a tender expression, nor had he ever seen Liu Ruyan look so possessive. Her hand was almost always linked with mine. He had always thought that Liu Ruyan didn't care about me, and he had also always thought that I, after 3 years of torment in a loveless marriage, was already covered in scars. But at the party, I was the center of attention. My expression when I played the violin was heart-stoppingly handsome. That's why just now, Liu Ruyan couldn't help but kiss me in the car. Qin gripped the steering wheel tightly, his expression dejected. He couldn't accept this reality. He took out his phone, selected a photo of me and Liu Ruyan dancing, and sent it to Fang Yuan using a secondary WeChat account. He believed that after seeing such an intimate photo, Fang Yuan would absolutely not be able to sit still. Qin lowered his head and smiled. There were things he might not be able to have, but I shouldn't dream of having them either. The Lion family home was very small. As soon as they entered, it felt like there was no room to move. She sat on the only single-seater sofa, looking constrained. I, on the other hand, was at ease. I went into the room to change out of the formal suit and put on comfortable clothes. I went to cook noodles. Liu Ruyan took off her coat, leaned back on the sofa, her cold eyes fixed on my back. Actually, in the past, when she came home from work, I used to cook noodles for her just like this. But she had never looked at me so closely before, not even in bed. She had never taken a good look at me. She only knew I had a good figure, 8-pack abs, and was 1.8 meters tall. She often indulged in marital relations with me, even without love. She just watched me quietly as I cooked 2 bowls of shredded chicken noodles. The broth was made from an old hen with finely shredded chicken meat, a bundle of yellow noodles topped with a plump fried egg, and 2 vibrant green bok choy. Finally, a few drops of fragrant sesame oil were drizzled on top. Just the smell was very fragrant. Liu Ruyan went to the small dining table to eat the noodles. She was a rich young lady, not used to this kind of small table and chair. It took her a while to get used to it. She took a bite with her chopsticks. It was very fragrant. Liu Ruyan looked up at my quiet noodle-eating self and said softly, "The Lion family was so well off before. How did you learn these skills?" I paused my chopsticks, stunned for a moment. It turned out that Liu Ruyan still didn't know. That when we got married, I didn't know how to do any of this. It was because Liu Ruyan was picky that I learned those things. But whether she knew or not didn't matter. I said faintly, "It's all simple stuff, not hard to learn." Liu Ruyan's gaze was deep. She said nothing more. After eating, I cleared the bowls and chopsticks to wash them. Liu Ruyan remained seated at the dining table, just staring at my back. Her dark eyes were especially captivating when she focused. The kitchen lights shone on me, and my expression while working was actually very attractive to women. At least the current Liu Ruyan really wanted to hug me. Liu Ruyan thought so, and did so. She stepped into the narrow kitchen, hugged me from behind, and rested her head on my back. Immediately after, the sudden intimacy caught one off guard. Looking at the unwashed dishes in my hands, my voice lowered. "Liu Ruyan, you said you came up here to eat a bowl of noodles. What are you doing now?" Liu Ruyan tightened her embrace and whispered close to my ear, "Lin Feng, come back with me." My body tensed slightly. This was the first time that Liu Ruyan didn't use a commanding tone to order me back with her, but sounded like she was pleading. This small change made my heart ache a little. I lowered my head and said nothing. Liu Ruyan continued her actions, looking up slightly. Okay? The phone suddenly rang. Liu Ruyan frowned slightly, not wanting to be bothered at all. But I had come back to my senses. "You should answer the phone." Liu Ruyan glanced at the phone. It was a call from Fang Yuan. She hung up, wanting to explain something. I guessed who the caller was. I washed the dishes and said nonchalantly, "You should go. Don't forget to transfer me the 100,000. I pretended not to care, my mind only on the 100,000 yuan. The ambiguity from before had vanished without a trace. Liu Ruyan took a step back and stared at my back for a long time. She asked very softly, "Lin Feng, is it that no matter what, you're unwilling to come back with me?" My back had already written the refusal. Liu Ruyan was also a proud person. How could she beg a man? She immediately took out her phone, transferred me 100,000 yuan, then went to the sofa outside, grabbed her coat, and left. I kept washing the dishes. I heard the message notification from my phone. I heard Liu Ruyan leave, the faint vibration of the door. I forced myself not to care, because I knew all too well where tonight's tenderness from Liu Ruyan came from, because of my value. If I couldn't win Mrs. Li's favor, couldn't help her win that project, she absolutely wouldn't have looked at me differently, and absolutely wouldn't have humbled herself to come here just for a bowl of noodles, nor would she have said such soft words to me. Because she is Liu Ruyan, the Liu Ruyan who is like a wolf and a tiger in the business world. We parted on bad terms. I convinced myself not to mind, but I couldn't help feeling a bit bitter inside. I'm not a block of wood, of course I have feelings. For the next few days, I didn't see Liu Ruyan at all. I felt relieved. Today I went to the hospital to visit Lin Batian. Not long after I arrived, I noticed Auntie Xu's expression was a bit strange, as if she was hiding something. Sure enough, when lunchtime came, Xuru made an excuse saying she wanted to eat spicy boiled fish and couldn't finish it alone. Lin Batian, suspecting nothing, said with a smile, "Doesn't Lin Feng like it too? Let him go eat with you. The two of you, mother and son, can also talk." Auntie Xu adjusted the back pillow for me over and over before leaving the hospital restaurant. The boiled fish hadn't been served yet. I quietly asked Auntie Xu, "What's wrong?" Auntie Xu tried to hold it in, but in the end, she couldn't help but speak out. She said to me that Fang Yuan, Lin Feng, do you know his background? I only knew that Fang Yuan used to be a male nurse. I shook my head. Auntie Xu was furious, and she let out a cold laugh. Fang Yuan's parents, one of them, was a driver for our Lin family, and the other was a cook for the Lin family. Your father and I never mistreated them, yet they raised such a fine son who brazenly stole your wife. Now he's in the hospital, in a VIP room paid for by Liu Ruyan, and he's using the best doctors. What a bitter irony. I was also very surprised that Fang Yuan's parents used to work for the Lin family. Just then, the waiter brought a large bowl of boiled fish, but Auntie Xu was in no mood to eat. She was still fuming with indignation. The Fang family is definitely up to no good. I didn't feel at ease either. I gently placed my hand on the back of Auntie Xu's hand, comforting her quietly. I could understand Auntie Xu. Auntie Xu's maternal family was very well off, but at 26, Auntie Xu was determined to marry the 40-year-old Lin Batian, who already had a son and a daughter as his second wife. It even reached the point of cutting ties with her own family. Auntie Xu has a proud personality. She swore that she would live a good life to show her family that her choice was not wrong. But now, to be trampled underfoot by former servants, how could she swallow this anger? I comforted her for a long time, then brought up the matter of the 2 million yuan. Now that we have this money, things will be much better. Auntie Xu, things will get better and better for us from now on. My coaxing made Auntie Xu laugh. But as she laughed, she couldn't hold back her tears and said, Lin Fang, I'm not doing this for myself. I just feel indignant on your behalf. The son of a driver and a cook, so poor and lowly, how could? She paused for a moment before continuing. Liu Ruyan must be blind. I tried to cheer her up, playing along with a few words. After Auntie Xu finished venting, she felt much better. She was worried about her husband, so she ate a little and left in a hurry, leaving me sitting dazed in front of the large bowl of boiled fish. Brother Lin. Suddenly, a voice sounded by my ear. Familiar yet strange. I looked up. I saw Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was in a patient's gown, sitting in a wheelchair, looking so fragile as if he couldn't withstand a gust of wind, but his seemingly weak eyes hid a cunning glint. Fang Yuan coming to find me was a last resort. For the past few days, Liu Ruyan hadn't been answering his calls, nor had she come to the hospital to visit him. When he called Qin Yu, the other party always spoke with a sarcastic tone, saying he was a crow trying to become a phoenix. He panicked, which is why he came to find me. Fang Yuan came from a humble background, so naturally his methods were dirty. He disregarded his own status, looked at me as if he were about to cry, and even tugged at my sleeve, looking extremely pitiful. Brother Lin, I'm begging you, stop clinging to Liu Ruyan. She and I are truly in love. If you back off, she and I will definitely be very happy. A forced melon is never sweet, Brother Lin, don't you agree? Liu Ruyan and I have been married for 3 years, and Fang Yuan has been in the picture for 3 years. But this was the first time I had ever confronted Fang Yuan. Greedy and shameless. If it were before, I would have definitely been flustered. But perhaps because I no longer cared about Liu Ruyan, I was incredibly calm. I even calmly said to Fang Yuan, Mr. Fang, you should be saying these things to Liu Ruyan. When you can't secure a proper status, the problem usually lies with yourself, not with the legal wife. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth, his expression ugly. In his mind, I was very naive. He didn't expect me to be so stubborn. People around were already pointing and whispering. Fang Yuan was losing face. At that moment, I didn't want to get entangled any further, so I stood up to leave. He panicked and, disregarding his pride, shouted after me, She doesn't love you at all. My steps faltered. Fang Yuan revealed a triumphant expression. He raised his head slightly and continued, If she loved you, why wouldn't she save your sister? If she loved you, why would she let your father stay in such a shabby hospital room? While I, Fang Yuan, am staying in the best VIP room at Songshan Hospital, enjoying the best medical resources. Brother Lin, she doesn't love you at all. I lowered my eyes and said calmly, It's none of your concern. As I left, my heart ached incessantly. How could I not know? Liu Ruyan doesn't love me. 3 years of marriage, I understood it better than anyone. My thoughts were very simple: cure my father's illness, get my sister out of prison, and our family would start a good new life. But clearly, fate wouldn't let me go, and Liu Ruyan had no intention of letting me go either. That evening, while I was performing at Huangting, I received a call from Zhou Ye. Zhou Ye's voice was very urgent. Lin Feng, get to the hospital quickly. Something's happened. My heart skipped a beat. I quickly asked, What's wrong? Zhou Ye hesitated for a moment before saying softly, Auntie Xu and Fang Yuan got into a conflict. It became a huge scene. The police are here too. Lin Feng, you need to prepare yourself. Auntie Xu might be taken away. The phone slipped from my hand. In the end, it was Su Lingyan who drove me to the hospital. Luckily, it wasn't too far. We arrived in less than half an hour, but I was still a step too late. When I arrived, Auntie Xu had already been taken away and the scene was still in chaos. The entire Fang family was there. Mother Feng was cradling her son's burned arm, wailing that her son's appearance had been ruined, and screaming that Auntie Xu must be thrown in jail. Father Fang stood silently to the side. What surprised me the most was, Liu Ruyan had also arrived. Next to her was Qin Yu. As soon as she arrived, Fang Yuan nestled into her arms, looking incredibly weak. Mother Fang immediately played the victim, crying and saying, His legs are already useless and now his arm is disfigured. How is our Xiao Yuan supposed to live the rest of his life? A nurse reminded them, the patient needs to have his wound treated quickly, or it will leave a scar. As Liu Ruyan was about to leave, she looked up and her eyes met mine. I blinked slowly. I watched my wife holding another man, looking after him with utmost care. Clearly, between her husband and her lover, she had chosen her lover. Liu Ruyan looked at me, and for a long time, I said nothing. In the end, Liu Ruyan still held Fang Yuan's hand, and they walked towards the hospital room together. Fang Yuan's arm was in excruciating pain, but in this moment, his vanity was satisfied. He turned his face at a specific angle and gave me a victorious smile.
There were many reporters at the scene. I felt like I had been slapped in front of everyone, a really painful slap. Seeing her son gaining the upper hand, Mother Fang didn't let up. She rushed over and gave me a thunderous slap. If anything happens to our Xiao Yuan, make your damn stepmother pay with her life.
Mother Fang's slap missed its mark, hitting the side of my cheek. It didn't actually hurt much, but that slap was like a cruel awakening for my life. This slap made all the feelings I had invested in the past seem even more ridiculous. This slap made my 3 years of forbearing marriage seem even more cruel. I stood frozen, not moving an inch. I thought, so this is the tragic end for someone who isn't loved. It's this, miserable. Liu Ruyan took Fang Yuan into the hospital room, then lowered her eyes and said in a cold voice, I have things to do at the company. I'm leaving now. The door opened, and she left. Qin Yu hurried after her. Fang Yuan called out hoarsely from behind, Miss Liu! Miss Liu! Father Fang looked at his son and sighed softly. Son, did we go too far? Framing the young master of the Lin family is one thing, but your mother even hit him. What if Miss Liu refuses to marry you later? What will we do then? Fang Yuan was so hateful he gritted his teeth, clenching his jaw. I don't believe I can't win Liu Ruyan's heart. Zhou Yi came back from the police station, just in time to see me get hit. You know how hot-tempered Zhou Yi is? He didn't care what bargaining chip I had. He rushed forward and slapped Fang Yuan's mother. He hit and cursed her with harsh words. You bitch, you think you can hit Lin Feng? Who the hell do you think you are? Your whole family isn't even worthy of carrying Lin Feng's shoes. Mother Fang only dared to bully the meek. When faced with someone as ruthless as Zhou Yi, she was no match at all. After a while, Zhou Yi had slapped her face until it was swollen like a pig's head, a pitiful sight to behold. She screamed that she wanted to sue Zhou Yi. Zhou Yi immediately kicked her in the ribs. Go ahead and sue him right here. Go sue me if you don't sue. I'll come back and slap the other side of your face into a pig's head too. Mother Fang, relying on Liu Ruyan's backing, still wanted to act recklessly. Su Lingyan stepped forward. She pulled Zhou Yi away, putting him behind her. She calmly asked Mother Fang, if I beat you until you're crippled right now, how many years do you think I'd be sentenced to? Mother Fang was scared stiff. She looked at the woman in front of her and could tell she was not to be trifled with. Especially the beauty mark near the corner of her eye. It looked very wicked. She hesitated for a moment, and Zhou Yi rushed out again and gave her 2 more hard slaps. The anger had been vented, but anti-excuse case had already been filed, and it couldn't be changed. Zhou Yi was afraid I would do something rash, but I was very calm. I washed my face and quietly thanked Su Lingyan. Zhou Yi wanted to stay with me, but Su Lingyan forcibly took him away. Su Lingyan's villa was luxurious. The bedroom floor was a mess. Zhou Yi was tormented horribly. Nothing more can happen to Lin Feng's family. You have to help him. Su Lingyan, from now on, I'll let you do whatever you want with me. They were just a fling. There was a time when their passion was intense. Su Lingyan pinched his chin, telling Zhou Yi to come with her. Back then, Zhou Yi was only 19. How could he agree to that? But now, he did. Su Lingyan was no fool. She stopped the movements of her hand and asked with a cold laugh, such a great sacrifice. But are you ultimately doing this for Lin Feng or for Lin Shui? Lin Shui. Zhou Yi was momentarily dazed. That name was a taboo in his heart. He thought no one noticed, so he became angry out of embarrassment. Why do you care who I'm doing it for? Su Lingyan sneered and continued the movements of her hand. She brought her face close to his, her voice laced with danger. Do you really think I'm a fool, that I'm easy to deceive?
Zhou Yi really couldn't take it anymore. Su Lingyan's voice became gentle, like a lover whispering in his ear. The men who are with me, no matter how they scream, what they're thinking in their hearts, I know it all clearly. Not to mention you were just a boy when you first came to me. Playing tricks on me, Zhou Yi, you're still too green. She tormented him mercilessly. Zhou Yi was, by her. But he had such a rebellious personality. He didn't rush, but shouted loudly, Fine, then let's go our separate ways. You'll find someone else. I don't believe that I, Zhou Yi, can't find a woman. Who the hell are you, Su Lingyan? The louder he shouted, the rougher Su Lingyan became. Still talking back? I really want to kill you. It didn't stop all night. The maids in the villa didn't dare to listen closely. Listening made their faces flush and hearts race. Every time the mistress brought Master Zhou back, it was always a earth-shattering commotion, as if a murder was taking place. Su Lingyan was finally satisfied. She pulled back and went into the bathroom. When she came out, Zhou Yi was still there, limply leaning against the headboard, smoking. Is Ko Su not angry anymore? Su Lingyan looked down at him and snorted coldly. The swelling has gone down, but I'm not done being angry. Zhou Yi intended to. He said he intended to go. This little trick of his, how could Su Lingyan not understand it? It was all for my sake, otherwise, why would he lie there so obediently? He would have stormed off long ago. Su Lingyan grabbed his hair with one hand and put out the cigarette with the other. She said nonchalantly, regardless of Lin Feng and Liu Ruyan's relationship, Lin Feng is still Mr. Lin right now. That woman from the Fang family publicly hit him, which is no different from slapping Liu Ruyan in the face. Liu Ruyan didn't intervene at that time. She probably just wants Lin Feng to bow his head and beg her. Su Lingyan chuckled. Lin Feng just won't change his mind, will he? Zhou Ye was stunned. He sat up, still in a daze. You mean Liu Ruyan deliberately ignored it? Su Lingyan really wanted to press the cigarette into him. She got out of bed and quickly got dressed. Lin Feng understands it himself. In this matter, Liu Ruyan is truly ruthless enough. She looked at Zhou Ye's state. If you're tired, sleep here for the night. But Zhou Ye immediately stood up. He changed into his own clothes right in front of Su Lingyan. As he was leaving, he put his arm around her shoulder and said, I never spend the night at my sugar mommy's house. Although he said it with bravado, Su Lingyan still saw through him. She pinched his chin and looked closely. You've been sullied so many times, even if Lin Shui gets out of prison, she probably wouldn't think much of you. Zhou Ye was stabbed where it hurt. No one knew that he had been humiliated when he was just a teenager. It was his lifelong trauma. He was never worthy of Lin Shui. But his expression was a carefree smile. Yes, I'm this dirty, so I'm only worthy of CEO Su. Su Lingyan laughed coldly. You wish. I had hidden what happened to Auntie Su. Dad thought Auntie Su had to go out for 2 days, so we changed nurses for a few days. He saw me sitting there in a daze and said, You should go home. The nurse is here. I shook my head. I didn't want to go anywhere right now. I just wanted to stay here. The night was deep and quiet. Dad was a patient. He eventually couldn't hold on and fell asleep. I sat alone on the simple chair, silently lost in thought. There was still a faint red mark on my cheek from when Fang Yuan's mother hit me. Outside the hospital room, through a pane of clear glass, Liu Ruyan stood there quietly. She looked at the mark on my cheek, at my dazed appearance and the lifelessness in my eyes. She remembered the day I came out of Mrs. Li's house, tired but spirited when I spoke. Actually, I was like that in the past. It's just that you, Liu Ruyan, never noticed. Liu Ruyan, that 2 million doesn't include spending the night with you. I remember you've always kept business and personal matters separate. I was still so alive then. Actually, Liu Ruyan knew that as long as she was willing to let go, I would quickly come back to life. But then, I would no longer be her Mr. Lin. I might become Xia Jingye's husband, or I might become Li Yao's husband. Between fulfilling others and fulfilling herself, Liu Ruyan chose to fulfill herself. She left quietly. She believed that I would come and beg her. I was always very smart. The hospital rooftop. The wind was strong and a sliver of light appeared on the horizon. I quietly watched that sliver of light. I knew it would be dawn soon, but those rays of light couldn't shine into my heart. My sister once said that in life there are many choices. But now, I had no path left to take. I could only beg Liu Ruyan. Even though her lover framed Auntie Shu, I still had to bow my head and beg her. I knew better than anyone what the price would be. What Liu Ruyan wanted from me was nothing more than desire and the superficial relationship of a married couple. In the dim light, a tall figure stood behind me. That person had been with me for a long time. I casually turned my head and was surprised to see Xia Jingyi. She looked weary from her journey. She must have just returned. The way she looked at me was gentle, peaceful, and carried a hint of warmth. The bridge of my nose stung. Without a word, I guessed why she had suddenly returned. But I couldn't be weak, at least not in front of Xia Jingyi. Because I didn't want Xia Jingyi to do anything more for me. Her unrequited sacrifices, I truly couldn't repay them. I also didn't want to drag a good person down with me, so I forced a smile and said to Xia Jingyi, Jingyi, long time no see. Xia Jingyi stood beside me. We watched the sunrise together, watching the light on the horizon. The morning breeze blew through my hair. I turned my head, pretending to be nonchalant, and said, I've thought about it for a long time, and I've decided to go back to Liu Ruyan's side. Actually, being Mr. Lin isn't so bad. After saying that, I looked straight at her. Xia Jingyi did the same. Our eyes met, filled with unspoken bitterness and helplessness, and her pity. We didn't know that this moment had been captured from a specific angle, making it look rather intimate, and was sent to Liu Ruyan's phone early in the morning. 6 a.m. Liu Ruyan, wrapped in a bathrobe, leaned against the large bed, looking at those photos. On a rooftop at dawn, a man and a woman gazed at each other intently. The atmosphere was filled with an indescribable affection. Especially the way Xia Jingyi looked at me. It was full of love. Liu Ruyan stared for a long time, her expression as cold as water. 8 a.m. I helped my father eat breakfast, gave instructions to the nurse, and then left. As I left, I secretly gave each of them a red envelope with 2,000 yuan inside. After leaving the hospital, I called Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan was driving. She answered the phone but didn't say anything. We were both silent for a long time. I spoke first. Liu Ruyan, I want to see you. Liu Ruyan's voice was cold. Want to come home now, Mr. Lin? It's just the right season for blue crabs. Sister Lin's cooking skills aren't bad. Why don't you join me in tasting some tonight? I was silent for a moment. I want to talk about Aunt Exu's matter. Liu Ruyan's voice grew even colder. Is that so? Then come to my office to talk. After saying that, she hung up, not leaving me any room to back down. On the late autumn street, I felt cold all over. This is the real Liu Ruyan. In the past few days, her occasional gentleness was just a trick to coax me back home.
Once she found it no longer worked, she immediately showed her true colors. Cold and heartless. I put down the phone. I didn't hesitate. I took a bus, transferring twice to the Liu Corporation building. The employees of the Liu Corporation all know me. They know I am Liu Ruyan's Mr. Lin, but they also know how pathetic this Mr. Lin is. Qin Yu came down to get me. We went up to the top floor. Qin Yu pushed open the CEO's office door. His attitude couldn't be described as enthusiastic. CEO Liu has stepped out for a bit. Mr. Lin, please wait a moment. Go make you a cup of coffee. I stood alone in the office. I saw that violin again, treasured like a gem by Liu Ruyan, placed in the bookshelf behind her work chair. I stared blankly at it. Qin Yu came in from behind, but I didn't even notice. Qin Yu followed my gaze and smiled faintly. Mr. Lin, do you know why Fang Yuan hates you so much? I'm sure you don't. 4 years ago, CEO Liu actually considered marrying him. CEO Liu didn't have anyone she particularly liked. Fang Yuan just happened to appear out of nowhere and woke CEO Liu up. He placed the coffee on the coffee table. As he stood up straight, his smile was very meaningful. But Madame Liu, who is CEO Liu's mother, really disliked Fang Yuan. She looked down on his poor background, saying he wasn't fit for high society. So even if you, Mr. Lin, hadn't appeared, Fang Yuan would never have been able to enter the Liu family's home. He clearly didn't think much of me. I suddenly asked, what about you? Qin Yu, with a background like yours, would Liu Ruyan's mother approve of you? Qin Yu was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect me to see through his thoughts. I lowered my eyes and gave a bitter smile. How could I not see it? Before, I was deeply in love with Liu Ruyan, so naturally I learned about the people around her. Qin Yu's admiring gaze towards her was sometimes not even hidden. I'm not a block of wood. I can understand if I just think about it a little. Liu Ruyan stood me up for the entire day. At 4 p.m., she finally returned to the company. When she pushed the door open, I was standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window watching the sunset. Hearing the sound at the door, I slowly turned my head. Liu Ruyan looked at me for a moment, then leaned and said to Qin Yu behind her, "You can go down first. Today, I'm not seeing anyone, no matter who it is." Qin Yu left, closing the door. Liu Ruyan stood at the door looking at me for a while and walked behind her desk and sat down. "What do you want to talk to me about? To beg?" I stood with my back to the window. Outside the floor-to-ceiling window, the sunset clouds painted the horizon red. The vastness of the sky and earth makes a person feel small. I humbled myself. "Yes, I came to beg you, Liu Ruyan. Can you let Aunt Shu go?" I knew what she wanted. I was only willing to give one thing. And so, it began. The lights weren't on in the room. Liu Ruyan let out a sneer. Immediately after, she stood up and walked towards me. I never expected the elegant and polite Mr. Lin to have a moment like this.